Okay. I want to start this meeting off with saying hello to everyone, introducing myself to some, and reminding others of who I am. Teresa Joyner, the new chair of the Hudson City Planning Board. So we want to start off by also, before we get started, I want to pay some tribute to our past members. That's Laura Mongolis. Hey, Laura, are you here?
Yeah, I am.
And Steve Stern. Where are you, Steve? Oh, he might have went to bed already. Steve would continue to be with us, but it was due to an illness. So he is in all of our prayers, and we hope that we know we're going to see him probably next year, back in everything. And as far as Laura, I just want to pay tribute to you to say, I've been knowing Laura for over 20 years, and she's always been supportive of me. You know, she's a fighter for what I call the underdog. And I'm going to tell a story. I remember when Laura, around the first couple of years I came here, I was postmaster, and she came and got me. She lived on Rossman Avenue in this huge house on Rossman. And she was determined I was going to buy that house just so I could integrate the neighborhood. She wanted me to buy that house. She short as giving me the money. So I just want to say, Laura, thank you for everything. You're a good friend to me, and we will stay in touch as usual. Anybody else have anything to say? Any other board member?
I wanted to say thanks to everybody as well who just left, and Steve and Laura have been great. And I want to also say thank you, Teresa, for your excellent public service over many years. I know you're on ZBA for a long time, and I'm super happy that you've decided to take this position to chair the planning board, and we all have your back. We're here to assist as needed, and thank you again so much for your public service.
Thank you, Clark.
And I'll just say that it's been my privilege to serve with you guys. I think over the last year, we've had the most wonderful board that I have witnessed and or been a part of for the 14 years I was on the board. And I know you're in good hands with Teresa and my good friend and all of you. I wish you well going forward. And if you have ideas of other things I should volunteer for, just drop me in.
Are you getting bored already or what?
No, I'm real happy. And I also just want to say something wonderful about Victoria. I'm just so happy to hear from Teresa that she's going to be with the board on a more consistent basis. And I think that's so important. And thank you for accepting that, Victoria, because I know that the board's not always the easiest group of people.
Thanks, Laura.
But good luck, everybody. And I'm going to sign off.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Oh, you're not going to stay with us?
Thank you, Laura.
I'll be reading about you all in the newspapers. and also, actually, congratulations to Valerie. I look forward to meeting you in person when things are better in our world. And just best of luck to you. I know you're not officially on the board yet, but you will be soon. And also Margaret Morris. I'm so happy that I'm a first warder, and I'm glad to have you on board in terms of the Common Council. I see you're here. So good night, everybody.
Good night, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you,
Looking
Laura.
forward to meeting you.
Yes, and I also want to introduce Valerie. Valerie, raise your hand. She's the newest board member, and she will be joining us tonight. She will not be able to vote, but this is just the first meeting because of due to travel for her business. She was not able to make it back in time to be sworn in. And everybody clap your hands. We finally have a lawyer for every meeting. Victoria, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts, Teresa, as well, in making that happen. So it's great.
Well, it's the mayor that made it happen. I mean, without him, I couldn't do anything. Okay, and congratulations to all of the new elected officials. Claire, I see you there. Congratulations. And the rest of you that I may not know. Okay. Anything else anybody want to say? All right, so we're gonna open the public hearing. Is that okay? Can I get a motion? We're gonna open it at what time? What time is it? Anybody know?
Teresa, before we do that, I had a question. Can you fill us in on the status? I mean, I know that since we last met, a lot has happened, including the planning board getting sued. Are we going to have a chance to work with the Common Council and or the mayor on the selection of a council that represents us? And do we already have council that represents us? What's our status with that? Do you
From
know?
what I've been told, we already have counsel to represent us on the Colorado suit, right? Yes.
And
Yeah, so the council has hired Hinman Straub as your counsel on that case to defend the planning board.
are we going to have a chance to meet with that council, or I mean, we're the party being sued, right? I mean, this
You
board.
are. So Teresa should reach out to the mayor and try to set up a meeting. I haven't spoken to the council about this case. And I don't want to double bill the city for the work on it. So,
Okay.
but you should definitely have a meeting with them. I mean, they're representing you and defending you. So that's a very reasonable request.
Yeah. And I just wanted to follow up on Larry's comment too. I mean, there's clearly a lot of local expertise, not just on the board, but there's been previous suits where the city was sued and defended successfully. So I guess I just want to make the case that there's clearly other resources in Hudson that the lawyer can draw upon to, put together the most, I guess, the strongest defense of planning board.
Okay, I will reach out.
Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, now can we open the public hearing?
I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Lisa, did you get that? John and, yeah.
Yeah, public hearing is open at 6:09. John, Eugene. And John.
These two, go down the street.
Is 26 Orange Street here?
I'm here. I think Doug might be here too. I'm not sure.
Is there any more you want to add to this, to your, before we?
I just see this as a nice application for upgrade of the business there. Very much in line with the business district. We had tried to address all your concerns and had exchanged a letter with your attorney, and we just we're hoping to get all that feedback before today's meeting. So if there's anything to discuss from the changes we suggest in the letter, I'd certainly be open to discussing it. And Doug should pop on any second now, and he might have input if there's questions.
I think I can just maybe summarize for some of people that maybe didn't attend some of the earlier meetings. We've been in this process since August, and have provided all the information that the board has requested in terms of lighting and ramp details, and to remind everyone that this is a change in use application, that this is in compliance with the city zoning code and is in approved use. We met in November with during the public hearing with your legal counsel to review some questions around the operations, and we've documented that how those operations, how this establishment plans to follow the city operational rules, and that these renovations that are planned will also improve the fire safety of the building by including sprinklers and a central smoke alarm system, and that we would like to move forward with those plans and look forward to hearing the board's feedback and comments this evening.
So for the board members, the applicant had provided a letter and some suggested or requested changes to the draft resolution that was presented in November. And I did send that around, and I have it and can share it again so you can see what their requested changes were. And I will do that in a moment. The share is not working, so here we go. Share. Okay. So the changes that the applicant has requested are relatively minor. The board was concerned because this is going to be a hotel that doesn't have a traditional lobby with a check-in and someone who's on duty. And so a condition was drafted to require them to post information in the event of a complaint. And the applicant has asked you to delete the requirement for posting their property manager's address. They said that that's private information and a name and telephone number should be sufficient. They've also asked to delete the requirement that the project maintain a telephone line, somewhere in the hallway or the lobby for guests to use, with the understanding that just about everyone has a cell phone now. And most people wouldn't expect a phone sitting on a table to work anyways. So those are the two requests. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Both those requests seem reasonable to me. I mean, I wouldn't, if I were staying there and I used my cell phone to check in and every interaction I had was with my personal phone, I would never imagine picking up a lobby phone if I had a concern or an issue.
I totally agree. Just for germs.
Yeah.
Germs alone would stop me.
I agree as well.
So we're all kind of in favor of the resolution. Did everyone get a chance to read it and understand it? Do anyone have questions? Valerie, you read it, right? Yeah.
Yes, I read it already.
Are we ready to vote on it?
We should just make sure that there's no one here from the public that
Yeah.
wants to make any additional comment.
Sorry, public. There you go. Anybody from the public, would you like to say something? Hello, I encourage you
Hi,
to say something. Hi.
Chair, this is Mohammed Roni. I'm the second ward alderman. The only question I had is regarding that phone. Of course, we all have phones these days, but there's also that, anxiety that comes with being connected with the one phone. Sometimes, phones actually die and you may have an emergency. I don't understand how having a lobby phone could be such a detriment to the business that they can't just provide it in case of an emergency. For example, maybe a guest at the hotel needs to get back in and their phone died while they were out in town. Obviously other issues could arise where a phone might be necessary. So, that's my concern, question, however you want to take it.
Did we ever ask the question, are there going to be cameras at this hotel that can be viewed exteriorly?
There are cameras presently. I could bring up.
I know, but will the manager or the person in charge be able to view them? Like, would you be able?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
When people approach the front door to do their first live check-in, there's a pre-check-in and then there's a check-in right when they get there. So they don't actually get the codes until they're on the video camera and talking to Crystal for at least a second time, if not a third. The check-in process starts well before the guest arrives at the property. we start vetting them and discussing their stay with us as soon as they contact us
Will there be cameras in the hallways?
in all the common areas.
Okay, in the common areas. All right. Would that suffice, Mr. Ronnie?
So I'm guessing your answer to my question is that the cameras are sufficient to provide.
I'm asking, yes.
Yeah, is that what's going on? The camera is sufficient to provide customer service in case a phone, the customer does not have a phone to get into contact with you.
You know, I have to say the place has been in operation now, albeit with it's much less rooms right now. It won't be 9 rooms, it's 5 rooms presently at its maximum. But cell phones and human-to-human communication has served it well. There are staff there. It's not like an abandoned building. There's 3 cleaning staff and 2 managerial staff who are in and out of there all day. No one's expecting an archaic, like, pick me up in the hallway phone. It sounds very 1950s. No one's expecting this. It's not a safety feature most people are looking for. And you did mention germs of a common phone. No one would ever pick this up. Most people have a cell phone. For there to be an emergency, you don't have a cell phone, you knock on the door of your neighbor, your guest. I mean, this is a small community in itself. I don't want to get overexcited about not having this phone. It was an interesting suggestion, but it's not part of the state code, and it's not something any other hotel in the city has. It was an interesting idea, but I really don't think it's appropriate.
Oh, I understand what you think, but that's why we're in a public hearing, to hear what they're thinking.
Sure.
And try our best to accommodate them. So if the phone is not there, we want to say, okay, well, the cameras suffice. I want to hear if that'll be good enough.
And also, as per your instruction and what we agreed on, there will be a listing in the hallway with a phone number and the name of someone they can get in touch with 24 hours a day. That will be posted in the hallways as agreed, which the board suggested.
What do you, could you, Roni, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yeah, that's right, Carolina.
Okay. So what do you think?
I don't think my question's really been answered. I understand it's very archaic. At the same token, there is no pay phones available these days. And you're saying, yeah, we can easily knock on your neighbor, your guest. That's also, I'm not sure how many hotels you've stayed at. Do you actually open the door for a random stranger at a hotel? I would not. That's my concern. But if you're saying that the camera is wired in a way that your staff can communicate with the guest, I think my concern would be addressed at that point. That's what you're saying.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's just that prior to the day, we kind of all agreed, okay, no phone. And now today we get your comments. So I'm trying to say, okay, if we're not going to go back to the phone, what else can we do to address your concerns? And now you've told us what we can do, and I'm glad that you're satisfied. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Anyone else?
Yes, I've had this is Margaret Morris. I've had my hand raised for a while.
Sorry, I'm new to this, so I can't see hands.
Okay. I want to echo Roni's concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I travel a lot for work. I obviously have a cell phone. And I think it is very important that there is something other than a cell phone available to make calls in an emergency. Yes, you have cameras and so forth, but I think that Roni is correct in asking this question. That's all I have to say.
Right. I want to ask another question. Now, I know that sometimes, like in my house, my smoke detector and alarm is hooked up to my phone and everything. Is that the same case with the hotel? Like if the smoke alarm go off, that'll, the manager will know, right?
I'm not exactly sure exactly the code. I would think that the fire department might be alerted to an actual pulled fire alarm. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, like if you, Valerie, help me out here.
You have a central alarm system in
Exactly.
the hotel.
I see. And Ben, I just have a question. When people are checking in, is it like a virtual concierge that you see their face, or is it could potentially, if there is an emergency and you don't have a phone, you can go to the virtual concierge to tell them that if there's an issue?
You can always go through the app and the web page. You can check in person at the Hudson Whaler down the street. Some people do that as well. And you can do a virtual check-in, which you can also do at the Hudson Whaler, and you can do at many hotels in our great country. It is part of the new millennium.
But that was not the question.
People want contactless, secure check-in where they don't have to talk to anyone or interact with humans, and that's how they want to spend their weekend.
Just to be clear, because I didn't get a clear answer. If someone doesn't have a cell phone and they go to the front of the building, however they check in, doorbell or whatever, will they be able to click it and video conference to a live person?
No, there's no buzzer there right now. Nor is that something that any other hotel in the city of Hudson has, or B&B, but I could put in a Ring doorbell. That's very similar to the concept of Ring doorbell. There is a security system. There is a professional staff. The place operates smoothly now with 5 bedrooms, and I don't assume there'd be any great change to a long-standing record of giving guests a wonderful, safe weekend there.
Teresa, if I could make a comment, this is Claire. I'm going to annoyingly echo the other two that spoke before me, but I've never stayed at a hotel where there's not another source of communication. I think that it's great that people can check in virtually. I think that is a sign of the times. I think that it's awesome that they can do most things via app. But for comfortability, like, who's to say that all of the guests don't decide to be out doing something at the same time? There's one guest in the facility and something goes terribly wrong, or they just have a really simple question just for comfort. I mean, it doesn't have to be stationary in the hall for everybody to see, like, wow, look at this archaic device that we don't want to touch. It could be next to the virtual check-in, where if somebody needs to call for assistance, it's available, and it can be well hidden, and you can put it in the instructions with check-in in case of an emergency. This is where the phone is located. I think that it's really not safe. And I think that listening to
others,
multiple elected officials saying that they'd be way more comfortable with this project if you had a phone, a landline, I think it says a lot. And I hope that you are taking it into consideration for the safety of the people that would be staying in your hotel.
You did say something about a doorbell. You could put in a doorbell, something like they can ring a doorbell and then the concierge will come on.
I don't know if that would be 24 hours a day, but similar to a Ring doorbell system that does send an alert to whoever you send it to. This is another system altogether we're discussing. I want to just echo that the safety of my guests is also very much my concern. I live and die by the reviews of each guest, and that's how people choose where to stay. If someone had an unsafe or bad experience, you'd read about it. If you go to my TripAdvisors and my Airbnb reviews at the Whaler and the Mariner, you'll see people have lovely stays for the most part. Asking me to reach a level or have a different litmus that the rest of the hotel industry in the state of New York has, it's a little, troubling to me that I would be singled out, that all of a sudden there's this supposed safety issue. This is really above and beyond what a normal operator would be asked to do. And I'm politely just asking you to consider that it's not this grave safety issue as it's sort of been posed. It's really like this extra that, is not going to be used. It's, from my perspective, almost a waste because no one's going to use it or understand it. So I've voiced my opinion. I just, I understand the concern.
We thank you for your opinion.
Yeah.
Chairwoman, may I respond to Mr. Winsler just succinctly?
Sure.
Please.
Mr. Winsler, I appreciate your comment, your opinion regarding your business, and I can totally understand you saying that you're being, well, at least you having the concern that you're being put to a litmus that's higher than the other hotels in the city. But I've, even though I live in Hudson, I have stayed at the Wick. They have a 24-hour desk person. I'm not sure if the Maker has similar things or if, the other hotels have a front desk person 24 hours a day.
They don't.
But do they, do you know for a fact that they don't
Yes.
have any other method of communicating with staff in case of
I
emergency
know
without a phone?
The Rivertown Lodge, for instance, the Whaler, all of these follow the state guideline and have a phone number listed for people to call after hours if they need assistance 24 hours a day. That is the state law. And all our hotels in Hudson comply with this. The Wick is a large hotel and may or may not have 24 hours. I don't know that to be a fact. I know most of the other hotels do not. And that's
I know for a fact that the Wick does have it, and they also have a lobby phone available. But
the large hotel.
Your other comment, I think, would be sufficient to answer my concern. If there is a two-way doorbell communication device, it would be sufficient for me. Or not that I have any authority over this, but it would sufficiently answer my concern, is what I'm saying.
Any other hands up that I didn't see? Any other hands? Anybody on the planning board has anything to say?
I just want to make a comment, Teresa. It does seem we should be clear that a security camera system is not a two-way communication. Typically, in my experience managing buildings, it's typically used after the fact to review what happened in the case of some potential crime or assault or whatever. So video cameras are not two-way communication. We need to be clear about that, at least in my experience. Again, oftentimes they are used as a record of what happened as opposed to a way to prevent or alert somebody of something happening. And I just want to make a comment too, just a general comment. It seems like concerns by this board about safety. I want to back up a little bit. The applicant needs to understand that this is a site plan review. It's a new hotel in what I can consider and think many consider a residential district. It's approved with it's permitted with site plan approval. We are now doing site plan approval. And the board has taken upon itself to say, here's what we need to issue a approval of your site plan. And I feel like there's been consistent pushback on our requests to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Hudson. And that's been my concern from day one. And I think the comments by the applicant reinforce my concerns about health, safety, and welfare of this building that was not a hotel. He's now asking it to be a hotel. We had debates back and forth on what a hotel means, but clearly the code says to get this approved, you need site plan approval. And the board has said, here's X, Y, and Z, what you need to do to meet that standard for site plan approval. So I'm just reiterating for everybody what we are doing here. And I appreciate the fact that there's strong concerns about perceived risk and safety. And I get it that the chances of something happening may be low, but it's all about risk management. I also manage property. It's about managing risk and reducing risk and making safety systems integral to your operations and not dismissing concerns because, again, the risk may be low, but it's not zero. And having public officials now speaking up about those concerns reinforces my my concerns about the project and about safety of this project.
Okay.
It looks like Dominic Moranti wants to speak.
Okay. Hi, Dominic.
Hi. So just a suggestion regarding the phone. Now, for example, my home phone system, I bought from Walmart. It goes into a regular phone. It's a cell phone, and it's a base unit you plug in, and if the power goes out, it's a battery backup. It uses regular phone line. So, I mean, the simple solution is to invest in one of these $30 devices, hook up a regular phone, so you're done. It's kind of like a cell phone. It's $15 a month for this service, and you're done. And it seems to me that would solve this solution, because it can be installed anywhere for $15 a month and invest in $30. Just a thought.
I mean, the truth is we've agreed on all other points, and I am sorry that we
haven't even closed the public hearing.
Oh, I understand. I'm saying, as far as the letter that you drafted, the only changes they made were to this. So I assume we're on the same page about the stuff that I didn't disagree with. I mean, that's what I'm saying, that we pretty much agreed to this point. To his point, it is not a huge expense. It feels a little odd to be held to this different standard. And it's like, it's difficult for me, but if it'll close the thoughts on this, I guess I can agree to it. I mean, it's not the end of the world to have this phone there. It's just like this extra thing that I really thought was overkill and not appropriate and a bit archaic, but I can agree to it.
It truly seems like safety is an issue here.
Safety is my concern too. So it's insurance. I buy insurance all the time. This is a overhead I will shoulder. I will rescind my request to remove that from the board's instructions. I agree 100% with the letter written by the board, except for requesting that the address of the manager be listed to the public, which I think is a safety concern it's not necessary. It's their name and phone number.
Address meaning, okay, what's name and phone number? Did we ask for home address?
Yeah,
No.
it may have been a mistake because it doesn't seem appropriate, but
No, I think we asked for like where would they be? Location more or less than address. What do we ask for, Victoria? Location or address? Oh,
we asked for address. It does not say home address. I assume the intent was the business address, but
yeah, location.
I don't know if the agent on call is going to be at home in the evenings. It does not seem appropriate to post their home address.
Okay.
Teresa.
Yes.
When I was on this meeting, and I think there was like, it wasn't clear, but there was hinting at like proximity to the property instead of address. Like, will the person be within a 5-mile radius type of thing?
Yeah. What did we say? 30 minutes or 20 minutes?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I remember that conversation.
We've taken that out. That was part of the discussion. I mean, so what I want to raise is that this is a site plan review, and a lot of these issues can be addressed for all hotels through legislation by the Common Council. They could certainly adopt a requirement that, hotels have to have this information posted, and they need to have a phone available, and, whether the agent has to be within, 1 mile or 20 minutes of the hotel. If this is the future of hotels, these employee-less hotels, then this is something the city may want to consider moving forward.
That sounds
For
great.
that suggestion, Victoria. I appreciate it.
Okay, so if we left the phone in and took out the address, how would you guys feel, Clara?
Well, I think I think we're agreed on that one, Teresa. The bigger question is, it looks like the applicant is grudgingly willing to allow for the sentence, the project shall provide a telephone available for use by guests in order to contact the project agents. I think the critical issue is whether the board, those folks inclined to support this project, need that sentence there or not.
Right. You also have some hands up for the public hearing still, and it looks like Craig wants to weigh in. And then I'm not sure if Mr. Naranti wants to speak.
And then there's a Galaxy 59. Okay, who put their hand up first? Go first.
Hi, this is Craig with City Code. I'm Galaxy.
Craig.
S9, I guess it is. How's everybody doing? I just want to clarify something that Clark had brought up a couple minutes ago. Just so everybody understands, this property is in the commercial zoning district. It's a residential structure within the ZC Central Commercial Zoning District. It's a permitted use. It needs site plan approval due to the change in use going from a residential to a non-residential for commercial purposes. I just wanted to clarify that because I think Clark said it was a residential building in a residential zoning district. It is not. It's a commercial zoning district.
Right, what I said was that it's in a largely residential area. I get it that it's in the commercial district. I understand the zoning.
I wanted to clarify, because I didn't understand it as that. That's all. Just wanted to point that out to you. Thank you.
Yep.
Moranti? I don't see another hand.
No, I'm sorry, I lowered a hand. I must not have lowered it before, but just a clarification about, it's actually not a cell phone, it's a cell phone base unit that regular phones get plugged into. Just for clarification, the service is a cell phone service, but it has a longer distance than a regular cell phone. Everything's like having a regular phone.
Any more questions? Was there another question? Okay, so would
You should
legal,
close the hearing if you're ready to close the hearing.
does anybody from the public have anything else to say before we close this hearing? No? Okay. May I have a motion to close the hearing? The public.
So moved.
26 Warren Street. So we have Gina second, and who said so move first?
I did. Larry.
Yeah.
I have it.
Oh, you got it, Lisa? Okay, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now, Victoria, we go to
All
the
in
resolution.
favor?
All in favor? Oh, let me call out everybody. Clark?
This is closing the public hearing, yes?
Oh, yeah, but all in favor for the public hearing?
We can do a voice vote, I think, can't we, Teresa? Because we know we're going to close the public hearing.
We have to say all in favor. Let's go. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, now we go.
Wait,
to
any
the
opposed?
Huh? It's
Any
closed.
opposed?
No,
Any opposed? Anybody
Nope.
opposed? Okay, no. Okay, now we go to the resolution, right, Victoria?
Right, if you're ready to go to the resolution, I can bring it back up. If you have questions, you can let me know.
Okay, can the public be in on the resolution? No?
So this is how it is currently, as the applicant appears to have waived his objections to providing a house telephone.
Can I ask the public, are they okay with that? The ones, the.
So
members
now that the public hearing's closed,
Mhm.
you know, the role of the public hearing is for the public to provide the board for comment.
Mhm.
You can take that comment or not take that comment. And it's up to the planning board now that the hearing is closed to decide what to do with those comments, how much weight to give them, and, you know, whether or not to approve the project.
Okay, so planning board. I think their comments were legitimate and we should consider them, but it's up to each and every one of you. But I would never, you know, bypass a public comment, even if it's only one. because sometimes it takes that one person to stand up and they're really standing for several. Because most people don't want to say anything about anything. It's like, see something, say something. So, any comments from the planning board?
You just want to go one by one and ask us what we think, Teresa?
Okay, Larry, I'm gonna start with you.
Oh, well, I definitely think the address should not be included in the resolution. That seems like a security violation, and I don't think it's necessary or desirable. Whether there's a house phone or not, I heard the public comment. I don't believe it matters, honestly, for me anyway. If there were an emergency on the premises and I didn't have my phone, I would reach out to someone else staying there because it's an emergency. I can't ever imagine running down into the lobby and using a house phone. I wouldn't even think about a house phone. If I were running down in the lobby, I'd run out in the street and not stop at the lobby. Like it wouldn't even occur to me that it'd be a house phone. And I certainly wouldn't pick it up and try and use it. So I understand the intentionality of folks' concerns, and I think they're good concerns. I think the applicant does himself a horrible disservice in acting as though he were being put upon in this dialogue. I mean, the reality is that whether it's a $15 a month service charge or a $150 a month service charge, that's, that is a small price to pay to get rid of staff. And, whatever this board decides to keep for security in light of the fact that we don't have regular business hour staff is part of the business model this fellow is presenting. So I do think that the applicant is frankly wrong in his assertion that we are being more scrutinizing on this project. But personally, I don't think a house phone solves the problem.
Dean?
Larry, can I ask you a follow-up question? What do you think would solve the problem?
Oh.
Well, I think the system in place addresses the issue, right? I mean, it is a new way of doing a hotel. I think that if we really are concerned about it, we should do what Victoria says and forward a memo to the Common Council that asks the Common Council to look at this thing. If this is a new way of doing something and our code isn't, robust enough to really address some of the specifics that we've been deliberating, then it's a code issue that we can refer back to the Common Council. But in terms of this applicant, they've satisfied our concerns, I think, in a way that, well, frankly, meets our current code.
Gene?
Yes. I agree with the address being taken out of the motion here. And as far as the telephone is concerned, I agree that maybe something can be sent to the Common Council to change the city code and require it. Although the applicant has agreed to putting a phone in, so I could go either way, with or without it.
John?
I agree with both Larry and Jean. I'm okay with there not being a physical phone there, but I do think that there has to be some way to contact other than the individual cell phone, to be honest with you. And the one thing that the developer should understand too is that we're in the business of looking at the best and worst case scenarios. And so by virtue of the fact that, this is part of the dialogue, we're looking at both cases, we're trying to resolve an issue, and but I'd be okay with it.
Clock?
I'm in favor of the phone. Again, I appreciate that we have elected officials who don't just represent themselves, of course, they represent the folks who voted them into office. And there seems to be, I would say there's a strong concern about safety in the building. And for me, it's really not to belabor this too much, but it's really a question of whether the phone provides the safety and security that one would expect in a hotel. And I do think there's a general expectations. I get it that there's a pitch and spin that this is a new way of doing things. I look at it as a way for a hotelier to save money and cut staff, perhaps at the risk of additional danger, risks, hazards to people occupying the space. So I think at minimum, the phone should be there. And I just want to say, and I guess I'll second Larry's point, that I feel like there's a lot of pushback on some stuff, which basically seems like common sense to me, that one would expect an applicant to embrace and accept. And I don't understand the pushback on common sense safety measures.
And as far as I go, I like the idea of the phone, and it addresses the issue. And I also like the idea that we, after this, we do need to go to the Common Council to get more. Exactly what you said. I can't remember everything what you said, Victoria, but it is something we as a planning board need to push back. Because as this one comes about, there'll be more. Right?
Okay. Right. So, I mean, as the applicant has consented and agreed to the condition, I don't think we need to get any further advice from me. But I can put together a letter for the next meeting, just requesting, identifying for the Common Council that these types of hotels are an up and coming business, and asking them to consider it.
Right. Because I have other things I want to put in there too. So do we vote now? On the resolution? Yes? Okay, we'll start the same way. Larry?
Well, I need to know what I'm voting on. So
you're voting on the resolution.
So we struck the word address, but we kept in the sentence about the phone. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
It's in currently.
Oh, yes.
Okay, then I can vote for that.
Okay, that's a yay. Jean?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Clark?
No.
Teresa? Yes. Does it pass?
No. How? One?
I said yes.
Let me stop sharing because there's too many. Can't see everything. Was it 4-1?
Yes.
It's only 5 of us.
It was 4-1.
4-1 passes.
Okay. 4-1 passes. Okay, sir, you have everything you need. But but from this one, we're gonna go to the Common Council.
I appreciate all your time spent on this. I promise you're gonna love the operation, just like the Hudson Whalers, an integral part of the community. You're gonna see. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Lisa, did you catch that one change? Can you make it to the official resolution?
I caught the change. I think that you have the official resolution.
Okay, I'll resend it to you, and then we'll.
Okay, and then we'll go over how this gets signed and filed.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we can talk about that tomorrow.
Great.
Okay, good, wonderful. Now, can I get a motion to open the new business?
We need a motion for that, Victoria? No, we can just move on to it, right?
Oh, are you sure? Okay, new business. Is 402-406 Warren Street here? Yes?
Yep, that's us. Hello.
All right, let me just tell the planning board. We're gonna let them present to us. So get your questions ready now and all of the things you want.
Didn't we just finish with these guys?
Huh?
Didn't we just finish with these guys?
We're back. We missed you.
They're the ones building this city, huh?
Well, fortunately, there's a lot of exciting projects going on in the city, and we're pleased to share one more.
Okay, you have minutes. I haven't divided them yet, but go ahead, start.
Okay, great. So hello, everyone. I'm Dan Kent from Galvin Foundation. I'm joined by Charlie Gottlieb, our land use counsel, project architect Don Petrancola, and our site civil engineer Rod Morrison. And we are here to present our plans for Hudson Public, which is a planned 30-room hotel with ground floor commercial space. It involves the restoration of the significant property at the northeast corner of Warren and North 4th Street, along with some infill development in the areas surrounding those two existing buildings that are currently empty. What motivates this project is we want to restore that important building, and we want to support the economic development of Hudson and the continued restoration of the beautiful Warren Street commercial district. So today we'll be showing you our plans, and really our goal from this meeting is to gather your questions, to gather initial feedback, and then for us to take those questions and that feedback and provide a more detailed submission ahead of the next meeting. So at that, I'm going to turn it over to Charlie, who will address some of our kind of seeker questions, and then we'll turn it over to Don.
Good evening. Thank you, everyone, and good to see everybody again. The only input I have at this time is one of the few things we're trying to accomplish tonight is one, get as much feedback as we possibly can so we can give the board all the information that they request. And we'd also like to start the seeker process. So this is a rehabilitation of an existing building with some new construction. So it's our understanding that it's an unlisted action under SECRA. There are other outside agency approvals that we will need. Depending on the financing that is chosen, it includes potential some tax credits from the State Historic Preservation Office, potentially an IDA application, as well as an application before the City of Hudson Historic Preservation Commission. So the planning board does have the ability to do a coordinated SECRA review on this unlisted action. And I know Victoria can guide you in that and give you counsel in that manner, but we would like the planning board to undertake a coordinated review under SECRA. That would mean that the planning board undertakes the environmental review for all involved agencies. We feel like the planning board is the most equipped to handle the environmental review, just like you did for the Hudson Depot project, certainly on a much smaller scale. Typically, planning boards are the ones who conduct environmental reviews. So if the planning board is willing to accept a coordinated review, we can get that circulation underway if the planning board feels that it's appropriate after this meeting. So that said, I think I'll hand it over to Don, the project architect, to walk you through what the building will look like.
Where is he?
Morning. Good evening. My name is Don Petrancola with Liscombe McCormick Van Boris Architects. Is everyone able to see my shared screen?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the site plan survey. The parcel is 402, 404 Warren Street is the existing building here. The existing building that was at 406 Warren has been demolished. The building along North 4th Street at 10 to 12, our historic row house building structure here. And the connector between those two buildings has been demolished. So this is the parcel. The two existing buildings are being salvaged for rehabilitation and repurposing, and will be infilling the rest of the site. This is a quick overview of the site plan. Again, Warren here, 4th, prison alley along the back. This is the existing structure here and here. The plan is, as Charlie had mentioned, a 30-room hotel with accessory amenities. I'm going to jump back to the floor plan. So drawing your attention to the first floor is probably most important. The first floor will have, off of Warren, a dining, restaurant, a bar, commercial kitchen space, which is less than 2,000 square feet, and a retail space that is approximately 900 square feet
So these
on the
plans,
ground floor.
excuse me, these plans are rotated 90 degrees from the site plan that you just showed us?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't think
unfortunately,
anyone's
my
gonna follow that.
apologies.
Yeah, I want to start again.
So this is Warren, this is North Fourth, and Prison Alley is along the back. That's how we're able to get them all on the sheet. So apologies for that. So these are the commercial amenity spaces on the first floor, fronting Warren. The entrance to the hotel is here in between the two existing buildings. This is the row house, right? And this is the existing building on Warren. So you would enter here. This would be the lobby. Upper floors are largely guest rooms. The building is intended to be 3 stories in height. This is the elevation along North 4th Street with the corner building at Warren here and here. These are the row house structures. So this is the elevation this is the photograph that assigns to this elevation. This is the photograph along Warren. The building, I believe, at 408.
That's not good.
Warren is here, so we're constructing our restaurant entry here. This is the street level commercial reuse of this building coming around the corner. This is the addition in between the two buildings and our lobby entrance on that first floor. That is essentially a quick summary. These two buildings are currently vacant. And we are in the city's central commercial CC zoning district.
Can you speak a little bit about, so the 2 new wings of the project, one seems to have a gambrel roof. Are those mimicking structures that were previously on site? What's going on here?
I believe the building originally that was here was very similar to the row houses here. We need to add a 3rd story onto this building. So we've gone from what is a very low slope here, you see that here, very low slope roof to a taller roof with dormers. This is simply a design intent. We needed to get higher roof height here because that's where our elevator will be. And the elevator is required to have a certain overrun above the top floor. So we needed to accommodate that without it looking like some kind of box on top of the roof. This is currently the design intent for that infill. It is a little different, but that's why we're here to review with you. Also, we'll be presenting to the Historic Commission as well and getting their input.
And the other piece on Warren Street, your intention there?
This here is this is essentially a 2-story bar component to the restaurant, which is here on the first floor. The reason we made that 2-story was to screen the roof deck that is behind it, as well as the balconies of the guest rooms that front on that end of the building, this side. You can see that here. Whoop, sorry. So this is the, if we cut through the existing building or that bit of an alley, this is a 2-story bar component to screen what is a roof deck here and the balconies coming out of the guest rooms facing that end of the building.
And the 2-story volume to the far right in that sectional elevation, that's entirely new, right? That's the piece.
This is entirely new, yes.
Yeah.
This is entirely new.
Right.
So that in a nutshell is the design intent. And this is our first meeting for introduction. And we're happy to take your comments both tonight and in writing in the future so that we can provide you with the more detailed information you're looking for.
And I'll just add that we have engaged the State Historic Preservation Office. So we will get some comments back from them likely before the next time we appear before this board, and we can report back as to what their comments were on the application.
Okay, could you stop sharing?
Absolutely.
Okay, we had decided to hold off until escrow. So we're gonna, if anybody from the board has questions, go ahead, by all means ask. But we want to set an escrow for this applicant.
I have a question.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, so, I know from the days when Richard Cohen owned those properties that he also owned the parking spaces up Prison Alley that are sort of cat-a-corner from that site. Do I understand from your site plan proposal that that parking is not included in your proposal? And if it is not, what's your sense about the parking issue?
So we do not have any parking included in the proposal. I'm not familiar with the property that you're referencing, but as per the site plan presented, we do not have any planned on-site parking. So we'll be addressing that as other applicants have to this board by producing a parking study and also exploring potential solutions, which could include leasing spaces from the city.
Okay.
I had a feeling that parking might come up. So Galvin has retained again, I believe, Creighton Manning to review the parking. And then, we'll see what the parking looks like. But certainly parking is at the top of our list of an issue to address.
Can we call on Margaret and Ronnie?
I don't think we have a public hearing, Teresa.
So they can't say anything?
No, I don't think so.
So it's not a public hearing, so you are not required to let them speak. You may let them speak if
okay, I want to let them speak. If I can let them speak, I want them to speak. Get it out now, not, because sometime in a public hearing, they're far gone. So by all means, anybody else from the planning board have anything to say, because I'm going to call on Margaret if no one else.
Well, I just had a general question. Have there been conversations about water and sewer capacity at all? And is that something you will be providing at some point?
Yeah, so after this meeting, we were going to touch base with Mr. Perry, and we were going to discuss water flows and capacities and get some documentation from his office in the form of like a will serve letter or email or whatever he's able to produce.
I have a sort of a procedural question. I realize you're doing simultaneous reviews with Hudson Preservation, SHPO, et cetera. I guess my real question is, how much is it going to change next time it shows up? Because it seems like a consistent issue here, of course, is parking, but there's lighting, there's hours, there's obviously safety, security, et cetera. So those are going to be concerns that you need to address at some point. Yes.
Sure. So one of the lighting, one of the benefits, yes, absolutely. The lighting and all that, we'll address that. And one of the benefits of the coordinated secret review process is the outside agencies can't make a determination until this board issues its secret finding. So one of the things I wanted to make sure we avoid is we go to HPC, they have comments, but then we have to go back because the planning board comments. So we would like to get the planning board's influence first and foremost, and then proceed, complete secret, and then proceed to the other boards as necessary.
Okay, I'm gonna call on Margaret first and then Ronnie. Margaret?
Thanks, Teresa. So just speaking of this, now I'm not speaking in terms of what the zoning rules are or whatever. I'm just saying as a person who travels to hotels in a lot of urban areas and so forth for work, one of the things I always look at is where am I going to park? Does the hotel have a designated parking garage? Is there a garage beside the hotel where I'm going to get a discount and so forth? And it just seems to me to be just really blasé to say, well, you know, we'll go whatever the zoning rules are, whatever. If you're going to have people coming to stay at a hotel, if you're going to have people coming in, you need to have a plan because they will have cars and they need to park. And that's just like a basic thing. When anybody is coming in to stay in a hotel, they want to know where they're going to park. And I am kind of really confused that you do not have a plan. And I would like you to speak to that.
Okay.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're this is the information we wanted to gather from this meeting. So we wanted to see what the comments are, and then we will come back with that plan. We have traffic engineers that are reviewing the parking situation within this neighborhood. We'll come back with a full analysis for this board and the public to review.
But it's not about traffic analysis. It's about the fact that if I'm going to stay in a hotel in Philadelphia, and the hotel is right dabs in the center of Philadelphia, and they don't have their own designated parking garage, I need to know that a half a block from the hotel, there is a garage for $12, $25, $50 a night, whatever it is, where I can park my car and get to my hotel room. And it seems to me this doesn't make any sense to me that you would have a hotel without a parking plan. It makes absolutely no sense to me as a guest. It's not about whether or not there are enough parking spots on Warren or the side streets or whatever. It's like, where are your guests going to park?
We hear you, and I'm sure they're going to come back with a plan because I'm sure the planning board is about to say the same thing. So we're going to go on.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Mr. Roney?
Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate giving me some time. I will try to keep it as succinct as possible. I do have some comments and concerns, just generally, not specifically about this project. The presentation was wonderful. The building design looks great. As a resident, I would be happy to have something like this in the city. But my concern that I shared with my constituents when I tried to seek election was that we want to have a city that has equitable development. In the last, I've been in Hudson since I was a 10-year-old immigrant in 1996. There's been a lot of great changes that's happened in the city, but I, along with many other residents, feel that a lot of these changes are leaving behind the current residents and possibly future residents of Hudson. My comment is to the board itself. What kind of a city do we want to see in the future? Is it a city that we have a one square mile city, very small. The momentum of change is becoming, yes, Hudson definitely is a tourist destination. We want to promote wonderful businesses coming in and taking part in the development of the city. But what is the future of the city? Is it just a hotel and tourist destination? Is it going to have any concerns about the city's residents and trying to preserve the character of the city that we have either for better or worse come to love or have gotten used to? Same thing with the parking situation. Hudson is very small. There's a lot of residences very very close to this proposed structure. If there is no, maybe 20% of the 30 rooms will have a car, but where are those cars going to park? Are they going to take up the spaces that are normally used by residents in the adjacent streets? and the fact that this building at one point was a residential structure. So that's another point, housing stock being reduced into a purely tourist and business district or business structure. I think Claire can have more of an input on that and the statistics around in Hudson, how housing stock is, drastically being reduced. Yes, people are being brought in, a lot of tourism money is being brought in, but who's benefiting from these tourism dollars if the city residents are not?
Sir,
That's
I
it.
totally
Thank you.
agree.
So I don't necessarily need any comments from the developers that are proposing this. It's not, attacking the proposal itself. It's just a general question. Thank you, Chairwoman.
I agree with that, and that's a question for another meeting. But I agree with you. I've asked.
Could I
questions
just
too. Yeah.
address that just because I know we have a new member and we have some newly elected officials. And so I just want to be clear about the planning board's role.
Oh, yeah.
There's a zoning law in the city of Hudson, and a project comes in, and it's the planning board's job to decide whether it complies with the zoning law. And if it does, the planning board approves it as long as there's no environmental impact. So the planning board doesn't get to pick and choose the best project for a particular site. It is obliged to review any project that is brought before it for a site, so long as it complies with the zoning, and the planning board does not choose the zoning. So, there are distinctions between the different agencies in the city, and, the planning board's role, even though it's a really fun one and it has a big impact on development as it comes in, the role is very limited in that you're limited to reviewing what is proposed, and only then does it meet zoning.
Yeah, can I just repeat that, I think that we often are asked in public hearings to do things about things like parking and affordable housing. And I think that those are extraordinarily significant issues that impact the well-being of people who live and work in Hudson. And I have to say, the best place for us to work on that is at the Common Council level, where matters of parking requirements and, if you want us to work on affordable housing, put it in Article 8, along with health and safety. Because, absent a much more proactive role on the part of the Common Council and a more robust zoning, we have to do what we're, what's written for us. And, I think that a great thing about these meetings is that we do have active, engaged public participation. I think that's extraordinary. I think that sometimes that results in frustration when folks don't see the results that they want from this body. And I don't think it's because we're not a good body. I think it's because we're the wrong body for some of these concerns. And, I would love it if we had a more established form of dialogue with the Common Council, the mayor's office, and the Common Council president, so that some of the things that we hear in this room or in this format that we don't have the jurisdiction to act upon, we can still have a means of communicating public issues that we know about from these meetings.
Well said, Larry. Nicole?
Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
You're driving a great meeting, Teresa. You're great at this.
Oh, thank you. I'll pay. Your money will be in its regular spot.
Okay. Well, definitely. And although you don't deal with parking, I do think it's something that zoning, planning, and Common Council have to start addressing, because each hotel is saying, well, we'll just buy spaces from the city. Well, that's fine, but then people who come here that aren't staying in hotels won't find any parking places. And anyway, I'm not going to go on parking because you've just said that's not your department. I will take it up with the council. I'd like to know about the energy plans for this hotel. Is there anything that they're doing that is going to be particularly enlightened? I'd also like to know what that is, and then how that's going to be, where it's going to be put and positioned. I live on Allen Street. Wick has an extremely large air conditioning unit, which has really, really reduced our enjoyment of the warmer months because it's so loud that it comes into all of our lives. I think that's really important right now. I
agree.
also find that the roof lines are sort of like a jumble. I don't quite understand it in terms of where it is, what was there, and the whole feeling of Hudson. I also, and this I'm sure is not your department, I'm fiercely against an IDA for this project. I'd like to know what the siding is, how they're treating the siding. I'd like to know what the roofs are going to be made out of. And that's all I can think of right now.
Okay, thank you.
And I just would like to make one statement about where it is, parking and cars. Is that probably many of the accidents that take place in this town are on 4th Street and Hudson, right at the corner where this hotel is. We've had major accidents there for a very long time. And I think that's something to consider in this proposal. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Teresa, Common Council President, has
Where?
his hands raised.
Oh, where? Oh, hi.
Hello. Excuse me, my voice is not its best, but I'm looking at Larry and I want to address what Larry had to say about the Common Council. The fact is, this year we have actually, the BEA, of which I'm a member, actually allocated money to the planning board in order for them to come up with suggestions that they could present to the Common Council. So it's not like we've discouraged you from engaging us with things you'd like to see. We actually gave you a budget line to do exactly that. Just thought I'd mention it.
Yes, and we have it. Thank you. We know. Thank you. Anybody else?
Teresa Margaret Morris.
Margaret. Didn't I just call on Margaret? Okay, Margaret.
Thank you very much. So I just want to come back to the planning board and the zoning issue. So yes, I think the planning board has certain restrictions on what you can and cannot do with regard to zoning. But in my reading of your responsibility is that you have to evaluate the impact on the community. Outside of zoning, it's not just about zoning, that you do have a responsibility to the community as a whole. Okay. And if I am mistaken on that, please let me know. But my interpretation of what I read about what the planning board does is that you look at a bigger picture. You look at projects, you look at how that's going to impact the community. You look at where that fits in. Does that fit into the city as a whole? And I think that this narrow focus on we're restricted to whatever the zoning says really limits what you can do for Hudson. And I think you can be better than that. And I just, if I'm mistaken on that, Teresa, please correct me.
Can I chime in a bit, Teresa?
Go ahead. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, and I appreciate Margaret's position. I also appreciate Tom's comment that there's money now for the planning board to work on issues. I think the budget should be expanded, and then potentially there's a chance for doing that. But
yes,
I guess I've said this sort of since I've got on the planning board, which is the planning board, I think in the public mind, has a planning function, and it really does not. It's really, I mean, maybe it's mislabeled, but I think the public needs to understand it's really a project review board. And I do feel like the code allows some planning functions, which basically says we can issue reports, maps, etc., based on any development issue in the city. And we certainly could do that. And I've advocated that we do that. In my mind, would be a sort of quasi planning function, which would sort of, again, create I think create some framework for development. I think parking could be addressed. I think there's specific developments that could be addressed with additional planning money for the planning board. So I just want to thank the Common Council for giving us some money that's just here now. It would take time, of course, to do that work, but I think it's a step in the right direction. But I do think the public needs to understand the quite limited role that the planning board has by law. And if I feel like a big issue too, and I know there's a little bit of back and forth with the Common Council and the planning board. The thing that's missing in the city of Hudson is a planning department and a planning chair or a planning, a head of planning that virtually all cities of a certain size have. And Hudson simply does not have that. So that's also a gap that could be filled, which I don't know if it ever will. But in lieu of that, I do think the planning board could take on more of a planning function by, again, referring to the code that says we can issue maps, et cetera, reports, et cetera, within budget. And that budget, as I understand it, has always been zero or nearly zero. Now there's some money there, which is great.
There is, and Clark, being that you're a member of this planning board, we're gonna let that start with you.
Okay, good.
So I just want to make a comment that if you have any more comments, just can we keep our comments directed towards the project at hand, which is 402, 406 Warren? Because we can talk all day about what the planning board should be doing, but if you have comments for these guys, something that you want to address regarding this project, this site review plan, please, by all means. Now I see 3 hands still up. Does that mean you want to talk some more? Nicole? No. Ronnie? Margaret?
Teresa, yes, I just wanted an opportunity to just respond really quickly, clarify my previous statements, if that's okay. So like I said, I prefaced my first statement saying that it was a very general comment and not specifically for this development. And I appreciate Larry and Clark giving some clarification as to the role of the planning board. And this is a learning opportunity for me. It's the first few weeks of me being sworn in. So I appreciate you guys clarifying what your role is currently and possibly what it can be given cooperation from the council. So thank you so much. And I would love to hear from you aside from this meeting regarding what we can work on together to try to address some of my concerns, and not only my concerns, but the concerns of the rest of the city. Thanks again.
You're welcome, and we will have that talk later. Nicole, do you have something?
No, thank you, Teresa. I'm finished.
How do you put your hand down so I can stop?
I don't know.
Okay.
Nicole, just go back on reactions and it says lower hand.
Oh, good. Okay, back to the site plan review. Any questions from the planning board? Jeannie? Oh, I'm sorry. Larry?
Yeah, I had a kind of a question because it seems to me that what my understanding is that we're going to establish escrow and.
Yeah, we were going to go. I forgot. Yeah. Okay. No more questions? We'll go set up escrow. Yes.
Yeah, but I do have a question about that. So, it's a little bit difficult to set it without knowing whether Department of Public Works has any issues or concerns that need to be externally vetted. We don't know whether we need, we certainly need counsel, right? Which I would imagine escrow would cover that, but whether we need a traffic parking consultant, whether we need engineering to review noise, lighting, sewerage, water. It's a little,
I think it's safe to assume you're going to need to hire a consultant to assist with the traffic and parking study, given the history of other projects within the city. And then we can increase the escrow should you need to hire a civil engineer.
Okay.
All right. So Victoria, escrow, please.
Oh, I mean, I guess I would recommend setting it at 5,000 to start, and then, it can be replenished.
Oh, I was thinking of 10.
Oh, 10's good too.
I mean, what do you guys think?
I thought
I'm a
8.
Planning board member. You know why? Because then we won't have to come right back to you. I've been looking at these bills now, and if you don't start off with 10, you're gonna run out very quickly.
That's true. I don't see the engineering bill, so I don't know. So start with 10, and then you'll at least have enough to start.
Okay, so we'll do a resolution to that, right?
You can just do that by motion.
Okay, can I have a motion to set escrow for 402-406 Warren Street at $10,000?
So moved.
Second?
That was Eugene, I think.
I'm sorry, who moved?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Gene,
Second, Jean?
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And then I agree that this should be a coordinated review, similar to what we've done for Pocketbook Factory and other projects, where the planning board sends notice to all the other interested involved agencies. We get notice back, and then we can incorporate their comments into the review.
And that makes us the lead agency. Is that what?
Right, it would make you the lead agency.
Okay, I agree to that. Does all agree?
Oh, hold on.
So we can start that process at the next meeting.
Okay, that was my question. So we're not declaring what type of action it is right now.
So Charlie has indicated he believes it's unlisted. I have not spent a lot of time on this yet because we're waiting to set the escrow.
Okay.
I'm probably not going to disagree with Charlie, but.
But I understand. We'll do this next meeting, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I wouldn't want to declare that until you've had a chance to look at it and see if there's any issues.
Oh, until they send the escrow so we can pay her to do that.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay, any more questions from the planning board that you may want them to bring back with them for the next meeting? Nicole, your hand is still up.
Yeah, well, speaking of Nicole, I think that Nicole's list was really good, right? So
Yeah.
parking, traffic, landscaping, materiality.
Yeah.
And that lighting, noise, what's the
Energy, where's your energy plans for the hotel? Where are you gonna put the stuff? What are you gonna use? And all of that. That's a great question.
Yep, so I wrote it all down, and I will probably do again, this is a much smaller project than the Hudson Depot project, but I will likely do what I like to call an expanded environmental assessment form with exhibits, and hopefully address all of your comments at once, and then everyone will be satisfied and we can be on our way.
Well, what I noticed that is that the entrance, the new part wasn't brick. Why can't it be brick? Can I say that, Larry? Can I ask for brick?
You can ask.
Can I ask? Can I get brick?
So I believe with our depot project,
alike.
With the depot district project, I believe we submitted an elevation that indicated our intended materials for the exterior. So we can outline what our design goals are and how we want the building to look. Of course, that's something that the Historic Preservation Commission is going to be weighing in on as well.
All right.
Right, back to jurisdiction again. So on the depot district, now that we're referencing that project, for me personally, one of the best segments of that review was the sub-quorum meeting that we had with Baxter to talk through the staging of construction. Do you have a CM and or development partner on this project? And in some ways, this corner is, there were certainly issues with the 7th Street site, which I think that we were able to work through. I think the logistics on a construction of this magnitude at one of the most prominent intersections in town is going to be a serious issue for folks. I think that, if you have even a preliminary understanding of the construction sequence, what the timetable is for that, what's the critical path on that, I think that was very helpful in addressing members' concerns for the Depot District development. I would imagine some of those things might come up again on this project, and if we can get that underway earlier than we did on the Depot, you guys were working on it. We just weren't privy to the conversations. If those conversations are happening now about this project, I think we should incorporate that into our public review.
Sure. Yeah, we'll be happy to provide similar content as it relates to the construction sequencing and site staging in the same way we did for the previous project.
And then when you send the check-in, send it to the city clerk of Hudson, not to me.
Okay.
And when the invoices come in, they should go to the city clerk of Hudson too. Okay, sure. That's all I want to say. Any questions? I didn't hear from everybody. Come on, John, you have anything to say?
I don't. I'm still.
Clark, where are you? Clark?
Well, I kind of chimed in. I'm wondering, Larry, were you suggesting a similar sub-quorum committee, or is this small enough that it would be just the same?
I just think that we should, the format, it can be done as far as I'm concerned during the public hearing, because I would imagine that the public would be interested
We're
in
not
that.
going to do the public hearing yet. We're going
I know. But I think, construction sequencing, site staging, yeah, that could be part of their basic presentation.
We'll include it in our next presentation, and then if there are any questions or confusions, maybe we can break it down from there.
Jean, Valerie, anything from you two?
No, I'm just honestly taking it all in. No questions right now.
Jean?
Yeah, anything that I had questionable was answered, and looking forward to more information from Galvin.
Okay.
I have one more comment, Teresa, or question. I know Nicole brought up safety of that intersection. It's also a jurisdictional problem, right? In that I feel like the safety issue in terms of lighting, crosswalks, et cetera, is a DPW issue. So I feel like Galvin should engage DPW in, changes that may need to be made there. And I do wonder if there's sort of like a side agreement for infrastructure upgrades that Galvin would be amenable to, because I know that happens consistently. I think in the code there's language to that effect. So it feels to me that if that intersection needs to be upgraded, which is an infrastructure upgrade, coordinating that with DPW and potentially kicking in some money to do that makes sense.
We're certainly open to having those discussions with DPW, and we're absolutely invested in pedestrian safety in and around all of our buildings.
Great.
Okay, good. And do we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I was going to ask if they think they'll be ready for the next meeting in February, or
we'll circle back with the team and see what we can put together. But I would say that maybe the meeting in February, we could start the secret coordination process at the very least, if we don't have the full package for you guys. That way we can get comments from any of the involved agencies.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see everyone again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.
Now we go to 72-74 Green Street. We have 10 minutes. I'm just kidding.
I only need 10 minutes.
Oh, great.
I'm Carol Lent from Visage Construction. How are you, Teresa?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm representing Nick Bennett and Julia Black, who own 72-74 Green Street, which was a 4-family house. And then I think it became an attorney's office and a 3-family house. And now we'd like to make it a 3-family house. So we're actually asking for a decrease in use there. And I supplied a survey, which I gave to Craig. I brought 5 hard copies and I sent to him by email.
Are you able to share your screen to show us anything?
I can try.
Oh, she's like me. She's trying.
You know what? I didn't realize I had to do
Greg,
that.
how about you? Can you share your screen to show us?
Let me see.
Craig?
I can probably do it.
Lisa, this is Craig. I did send the survey
know.
to everybody.
But
I apologize. I didn't bring it up, but let me see if I can do that.
Victoria has it. Victoria will probably be able to share
She's
it.
okay.
Victoria is on you.
Boy, we put her center stage.
You're the youngest one in this group, Victoria. Share your screen.
There you go. She's a pro at it.
That's right.
There it is.
Okay, what is that, Carol?
Can you scroll down?
Yeah,
Victoria,
that's the back of the property. It goes almost 260 feet back from Green Street back to the railroad. There it is.
So the two-story, those are the two brick houses together with one another, right?
Yes, it's one house, but there's a four width wide brick wall that separates the house. I mean, it's just one house, but it's actually was a two-family, which became it's a four-family house.
Okay, is
When the
it upstairs and downstairs?
Yes.
Like one side upstairs and downstairs, or front and back?
There's two doors. When you walk in each door, there's upstairs and downstairs, Teresa, for both.
Okay. Yeah.
But Julia and Nick would like to take the entire downstairs and make that their home. And we're gonna put, there's a old addition in the back that's falling down, which we'd like to take down, put the same size addition in the back, and then the upstairs will remain a two-family. So instead of it being two-family downstairs and two-family upstairs, they'd like to make the entire downstairs their home and keep the upstairs the same.
So in terms of our review, this is a lot line adjustment so that the house downstairs is on one parcel, or what's the review there?
That's correct, Larry. That's correct.
Your code? Oh, is that you, Craig?
Yeah. What you're doing is you're merging the two parcels together, eliminating the lot line in the center. It's a duplex home side by side, 72 and 74 Green Street. And it's divided by a property line going down the middle of the property. So what they're looking to do is eliminate that property line and merge both parcels together, making it one parcel.
Okay, that's
for the purpose of multifamily residential.
Okay.
So your code is interesting, and Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is the first time I'm really diving into the subdivision. You have the discretion to waive subdivision if it's less than 3 lots that are being, created or modified, but you still need site plan because it's a 3-family home.
No, what it's not even a subdivision, it's a merger. You're not dividing the property, you're merging it together.
Right, but that's considered a lot line alteration.
It's a lot line adjustment, exactly. And the lot line adjustment is removing the lot line separating the two parcels. So it needs that. What happens with this is when they file this with the county clerk to get a new deed, when and if it's approved, the local jurisdiction has to approve their survey and their application. Otherwise, the county won't allow them to change it. So that's ultimately why they have to go through planning. Planning board is the jurisdictional that would have to allow for them to alter that lot, so to speak. To my experience, based on what I've been told for probably the past 8-9 years.
Okay, so are you saying it doesn't need the site plan to convert it to the 3-family or to enlarge the building with the addition?
No, it doesn't. The site plan only kicks in if it's 4-family or more.
Okay, I had we can talk about this, but I had site plan approval is required for erection or enlargement of all buildings other than 1 and 2, and that's zoning law 325-6A.
So then if you look at 325-35A13, I believe it is, it's site plan requirement for any residential of 4-family or more.
Okay. Okay, so you're treating this as a simple subdivision.
Yeah, well, merger. subdivision. I have always have an issue with that because you're not subdividing it, you're combining it. So I don't know.
So what is it called? Submerger?
Well, it's really a lot line adjustment for the purpose of merging two parcels together.
I think the way that your code describes subdivision though is an alteration. It includes alterations of lot lines.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it's in 325-42, I believe. But don't quote me. I don't have the code back in front of me.
Okay, so so when we went through this application, we identified that it was within 500 feet of county-owned property. And that would trigger 239M review if it under 235M and N review in Columbia County. That was working under the assumption site plan was also required. So we have a resolution prepared to refer this to Columbia County Planning Board for review and comment.
But
So
if that's
we
not
can-
necessary, can't we not do that? I mean, if it's a simple lot line adjustment, can't we simply decide whether or not we need a public hearing? If we wish to waive the public hearing, we could resolve to approve the adjustment. And if we decide that there is a public hearing required, then we can to next month.
So, Craig, can you and I, can we have a conversation? Can we go into a breakout room for a minute?
Sure, go ahead. Can we continue?
Sure, I don't know how to do that, but
Oh, is she
Okay,
here?
you know what, we'll have a break, and while y'all do a breakout. Right?
Okay.
Can we do that?
If that's okay with you, just because I need to get on the same page as Craig.
Yes, you do. And we need to be on the same page with Victoria. Okay, so we're gonna take a break.
Shaheen? Is
Shaheen?
Victoria, would it be just as easy for me?
Hello?
Craig's waking up.
Yeah, they joined the breakout room.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're in the breakout room?
Yeah.
So what about our break?
Oh, we're on our break. Okay, we have a break for 5 minutes. Or 2
Okay.
minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Anything else for me? Can I help in any other way?
Who's
Or we're just on
talking?
break? Oh, it's
Oh, no,
Carol.
you have to stay. Yeah.
Oh,
Come
I'll say,
back.
no, I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
Okay. Bye-bye. I don't know what to do here.
You need him. Mhm.
God fucking damn it.
Hey, everyone, I'm back. Shaheem, can you help Craig? He's having trouble getting out of the room.
Yes, again.
I said, oops, that tells his age.
I'm back. You picking up my age?
Bunch of Teresa.
I heard that.
So again, thank you for letting us have a sidebar. I think we've come to the agreement that although your code might say one thing, practical reality is that the county clerk will not allow a change to a lot line to occur until the planning board approves it. And so the planning board must treat this as a subdivision under its code. And I do believe that requires a public hearing. So tonight you can schedule a hearing and we can have that at the next meeting. But Craig has indicated that site plan is not required because it's less than 4 units.
So I'm confused. Do we
Yeah, me
need a public hearing or we don't need a public hearing?
Thank
We
you.
need a public hearing, but we don't need to refer to county planning.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so do we want to schedule this for a public hearing next month?
Sure.
Good idea.
So can I get a motion to schedule a public hearing?
I'll make a motion to, I'll make a
What's the
motion.
date?
What's the date? Hold on,
February 8th.
February 8th meeting.
I have a question about February 8th. What's, Victoria, I know that you told me this already and I forgot your answer. Is open meetings, are we Zooming next month?
Oh, so good news. I guess it depends on what side, whether you like in person or virtual, but today the Assembly and the Senate did pass legislation authorizing an extension of virtual meetings. We're just waiting for the governor to sign it.
Okay.
So it looks like we will be able to meet virtually again in February.
Okay, good.
If they extended it only for 1 month or?
No, I have to pull the legislation. I'm hoping it's more than a month, but it'll at least be through February.
Okay.
Okay, so a motion is, John, you put the motion in?
I made the motion, yeah. For public hearing.
Jean,
Jean second.
yes,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any opposed? Okay, I guess we're gonna have a public hearing next month. So we'll see you next month, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, we're moving along. Okay. The next new business is 2-12 Hudson Avenue.
That would be us. We're on there. Hello.
Hi.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Yep.
Hi.
Walter.
Hi. So we would like to get permission. Can I share my screen?
Please.
Okay, now wait a second. Sorry.
You may.
I had it all set up. I can't believe it. I'm so sorry.
Does that say anything to anybody?
You guys are trying so hard to get quickly through this. Forgive me. Okay, can anybody see that? Because it's on my screen, but it's...
No.
All right, hold on. Let me try something else. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Great. You can see that, yes?
Mhm.
Okay, so many of you are new. Those of you who have been on the planning board know me for years and know that back in 2016 or 17, we asked for and received permission to build a row house with 4 units here. And we've not gone forward with that for a variety of reasons. This is our house here on Hudson Avenue. This is Hudson Avenue here. And those of you know the area, the ball field, Galvin Little League field is right across the street from us here. So at present, the only buildings on the property are the house that we live in here. And there's a garage right here that we looked at all the different ways we could preserve it. And we finally decided we'd like to take it down, put a shared driveway through, put some lots here and here that we would sell, keep this portion for ourselves for the foreseeable future, and eventually build 2 row houses, one at the top and one at the bottom. And I think that's it. It would be, sorry, I have one other thing I wanted to show. We superimposed this on, sorry. Okay, can you see that where it's superimposed on the neighborhood?
It's very small. Maybe you
No.
enlarge it.
Let me enlarge it. Let me see just how huge I can make it. I'm really sorry. I did practice for this and it was to no avail.
Practice.
Okay, so the only point I would like to make is that looking at the neighborhood, the various lot sizes and how they're oriented, how the streets go, what we're proposing stays with that patterning. Here's the driveway that we're proposing, which follows the, more or less this pattern here. And then this is a possibly future street, Wortman Avenue, which is a paper street, but was never developed by the city. So, we abut that and we would comply with all the zoning requirements for the RSC zoning, which we fall under, which is the equivalent of R4 zoning for density, et cetera, 35-foot maximum height. The single family, all the buildings off the street would be single family lots. So I think that's it.
Okay, we have any questions from the board?
I have a question for Victoria. Is she with us still? I can't see her.
Yes.
I'm here. Hi.
Oh, good. So Walter mentioned that he has approval previously regarding the row house component of this project. Does that approval carry forward to the present if the work was not executed, or is this application inclusive of what was previously approved and the new red and yellow bits? What's our jurisdiction here, I guess, is my question.
So I'm going to have Craig provide input too, because this is a new application, but apparently the zoning law changed between the old approval and the new approval.
Okay.
Is that correct, Walter?
No, I'm sorry. This might be a little confusing and I can address that question. My understanding is our planning approval for the row house has to be renewed. So
Yes,
we would have to
new.
bring it back. So that's not a question. I bring it up simply because it's not a new concept that we're introducing. This idea has been around. It's been cooking for a while. We've been thinking about how we could affect it and what would work best in terms of our needs and how it would fit into the city. So, I guess you could look at it this way. I think this is a way to say it, as a new application to subdivide the property as shown.
So Walter, when you had your prior approval, did you create the lots at that time?
We did not legally subdivide at that time.
So, okay, so it's,
So this would be the subdivision that would follow that if, if we follow
What
it.
the original site plan was, not to interrupt, but the original site plan was to construct row houses on the parcel, which ultimately became more than 4 units. Ultimately, what they're doing now is they're reapplying with a new application, altering their original site plan. Once you alter an original site plan, it has to go back for a new application review. And that's in our code.
but the old site plan has expired because it wasn't constructed.
Yeah, I don't know if there's even a time frame on the expiration on these. There's nothing in our code indicating time frame to my knowledge.
I just want to comment here. I'd sent the planning board with my application, I think, the original drawings that we put in. Let me give you a quick narrative of our history with the property. We came to Hudson in 2016 planning to build the row houses and asked for permission. At that time, the property was zoned industrial, and we asked, I guess, permission for what was seen as spot zoning to rezone a small portion of the property. So instead of being able to go forward with this relatively modest proposal, we went through the expense and time of getting the entire property rezoned RSC. And now we're coming to you with basically, I guess, the rest of the diagram that I've got on the screen in front of me, filled in. So this is, 3 or 4 years ago. And, so this is what we'd like you to consider.
I have a quick question. And I recall when this came to the board, and the first approval, is this, and this is the thing I'm confused on, is this just a subdivision or is it also site plan approval for the row house. I think there's a second row house, right, Walter?
Right, okay, it's subdivision approval. And I'm illustrating that once we have the subdivision approval, we're going to come back and ask for permission to put row houses on the gray lots. And either we or someone else will ask permission to put single-family residences on the pink lots.
Can you bring up the drawing with the red and the pink and the yellow and the gray?
Yeah, do you want the big one, this one?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, sorry, hold on. Hold on, I'm getting faster.
So while you're doing that, Walter, one thing that I think would be really helpful is if you put a zoning table on this, more of a table that shows setbacks and minimum lot sizes, just showing all the dimensional requirements of the code.
Okay.
I mean, you have it here, but in a different format, more of a graph.
I
Would be
understand
good
what you're
setback.
asking for. In other words, you'd like it to look like the city zoning table, all the requirements, and then what we've provided.
For each lot, yes.
Yeah. What I will make a statement that we have studied this for a long time, and these are the setbacks, that are in the code. So it's the same table is what I'm saying. But I'll tell
I
you.
don't disagree.
I'll just state it. I'll state it as you request.
I have some questions about the subdivision itself, particularly around this shared driveway. Can you explain to us, or me, why that's not a street? And if it's not a street, where are the mailboxes? How are you handling water, sewerage, lighting? How is the property metered? Yeah. Where's the mailbox? Like if I buy one of the pink lots, where's my mailbox?
And garbage.
Garbage, yeah.
Well, I'm punting a little bit, but I'm going to say that the obvious answer that would allow us to move on would be, it would be out there on the street in an area that will be designated for such. This is a little bit new territory for me, but it will be like somebody's driveway. So I accept the fact that if the municipal services don't want to come down it, we'll come out and meet them. And that will be just one of the exciting ways that the neighbors can interact with one another, hanging out at the mailbox. And
But so 7 garbage cans or 7 mailboxes, I mean, those locations would have to be identified now as part of this review, because we don't want to be surprised when the person who bought this house now has 7 garbage cans in front of their house.
okay, fair enough.
And shared driveway, I mean, how lots of people do things like, I don't know, change their own oil or teach their child how to play basketball, right? There are things we do on a driveway often that ordinarily I don't have to contend with 6 other abutters on the same driveway. How are you, is that going to be on some kind of honor system, or how?
Well, that's a good question. I think, the safest way to answer that, again, for time's sake, is to say that at present, my thought, regardless of what the code says, is that we would provide 2 off-street parking spaces on those pink lots. And the proposal that I reminded you on the gray buildings, those all had 2 off-street parking spaces in front, which was required by the code at the time. So, the parking, I don't really see as an issue. And if it's a shared driveway, and frankly, Mary and I retain ownership of it, and there's a covenant that allows people to use it in perpetuity, I think we could probably, we'd be more concerned about that issue than you would be. And, we could make it a covenant.
So, I mean, we would have to have, one of the requirements, if the board were to approve something like this, would be a preparation of a shared driveway easement and maintenance agreement, which would set forth the limitations on the roadway, some kind of affirmative obligation that it always has to be maintained in a passable condition for emergency vehicles, and some way to allocate costs. I mean, I will say that as an attorney, we do see lots of fights over the years stemming from these kinds of arrangements. But that's one way we could address the board's concern.
Hi, Victoria. This is Andy Howard from Freeman Howard. I'm assisting Mr. and Mrs. Chatham in this application. And that's what I was going to say. What we would envision for this shared private driveway would be that they would have a shared driveway maintenance agreement, which would provide for what would be permitted on the shared driveway. It would provide for the maintenance obligation of the parcel owners. It would provide what sort of upkeep would take place so that the city would never have to have an issue with regard to, this not being maintained. And along those same lines, we could designate, those places where people would be permitted to park, off their individual lots.
I mean, along with that, some other considerations when you're creating, a new driveway, you now have to deal with stormwater. And so you may need easements on some of those individual lots in order to, catch the stormwater or get it out to convey it out to a city stormwater drain if you're allowed to do that. So we would need to plans for that.
And we would also provide a utility easement to each of the parcels so that they could access the parcels. We have had initial discussions with the Department of Public Works. It's my understanding from Walter that there's, no real significant objection from them. Certainly there's some detail we need to provide, but I know those discussions have already begun.
So one thing that is sort of unique, I guess, to me, I was asking Craig earlier, is there doesn't appear to be a frontage requirement in the city of Hudson. Is that true? You can create a lot that doesn't have frontage on a city street or a private street?
That's my understanding. It also says with regard to having a shared driveway in a residential scenario that it's right in the code, as I understand it, they don't specifically have standards. The position we took was that's fine. However, we need to make sure that the Commissioner of Public Works is comfortable with this for all the reasons that you and the board have elicited tonight. And so the idea is, we want to make sure that we have proper width, the engineering review of what's going to be constructed. But as I see it, there's no prohibition that would provide people from sharing access in this fashion, on lots that are matching the density of the immediate neighbors.
Right, but in suburbia, when I build a street, I have to build it a certain set of standards, and then what happens to that street? I deed it to the city, right? And then the people who buy parcels in the subdivision, they live on that new street, right? I mean, that's
not always. In many instances, what happens is exactly what Victoria and I are talking about. Namely, you essentially have a shared private driveway with deeded rights to every one of those parcels. And that's what governs, their interactions. You do see that quite often. A lot of times they'll do it in exactly this sort of formation where you're looking at anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 lots would share ingress and egress.
right. I have a friend who lives in a condo in East Hampton, and she's got to drive a mile to her mailbox, right? Like, yes,
Yeah.
it certainly happens. I just wonder, whatever.
Normally, the rule is when you show a road on a subdivision plat in a town or village, it gets offered to the municipality. It's like an offer of dedication, and the town or municipality can take it at some point. Calling it a driveway certainly changes it, that it's not a road. I guess it's not being offered for dedication. The other thing is, if this was a real road, there would be requirements for sidewalks and streetlights and, maybe a bench. It would have more of that urban setting.
I have a question, Walter. And again, I recall the original application, you had parking, which essentially is your front yard. And I recall also, and I think you reminded us that that was required at the time.
Right.
That the off-street parking was literally, I guess, a curb cut and driveway to your front, to individual front yards. I guess my question with the new zoning, is that still required? by
It's
code?
not, and this is something I would be happy to discuss. When we went originally, we said, because these lots are 25 feet wide, that you have to take out a street parking space to go into the lot anyway. And so why couldn't you just park, have a dedicated space in front of the house? Who else is going to park there if it says no parking except owner? And figure out something to do like that, cut in, or, however we could do it. I'm open to that. I guess we've done a lot of research of places in Brooklyn and fairly urban settings where the buildings are set back and they've bricked the front and they've got attractive landscaping and fences. So that was sort of what we were thinking, kind of a nice array of, you wouldn't see the cars because it would be landscape. But, I just want to say this, that I'm open to anything about that. We're still trying to get an idea that we can subdivide the land this way. And then, we would have to come back to you with our architectural and our planning solution. It's a two-part thing. So I think it's important to talk about it now, but it's important to say that I think we're open to what you think might be more appropriate.
And I should say, just as an urbanist, and I think we agree that as people interested in urban areas, that a on-street parking scenario seems more urban to me than a curb cut and your front yard being a individual parking space. I know there's areas, old neighborhood of Park Slope, there's an area which was a new development that had that, which was individual parking spots with a curb cut. And it just seems out of character to me. It's not necessarily our job to define urban character, but I think that I would advocate for on-street parking as opposed to a curb cut and an individual parking spot for each space, and as well as your new subdivisions. It just seems smarter to me and better in keeping with the urban, the neighborhood.
Okay, I guess, if I could characterize this a little bit the way we see it starting in Hudson Avenue as, fairly dense and, a certain type of housing. And then it gets a little bit less dense, and then it gets very less dense. And so I don't know how to say this, and maybe not appropriate at the planning meeting, but, one of the charms about Hudson is it's not over-regulated. People tend to do the right thing, I think, so we're going to try and make sure it's not too much concrete. And I say this only because shared driveway still has to meet the engineering specs for a fire engine, and that is a T-turn with the required radiuses and backups at the end. So, we'll work with you and figure out how to make it nice and keep it charming.
I have another question, just a bit of confusion. The triangular piece that your driveway connects to, is that something that you would retain, or is that, sorry, I don't quite understand it. Is that going to be one large lot?
That is, at the moment, where Mary and I think we'd like to, put a house for ourselves and maybe something for our kids.
Can I ask you a question? You said you bought this in 2016?
Yes.
What was it? What was going on there before that? What did you, when you bought it, what was it? A clear lot?
How long do we have? Is this a short? I'll give you a quick scenario.
The question is, when you purchased it, because I remember one time, I think a garage or maybe a junkyard.
It was the garage and the junkyard. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. So that's what I remember.
If you go down there now, there are deer grazing on meadow with trees. It's very pretty.
Okay, but there was a junkyard. In other words, when you bought it, it was a junkyard. So that's up to 2016, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I also want to ask, are you just separating the lots for people to buy the lots to build a home, or you're building the homes?
So at the moment, we don't really have that entirely planned because we don't know what's going to happen, blah, blah, blah. We'd probably mix it up. Yeah, we'd probably sell some and try and retain some to build ourselves.
So you can sell lots for row housing? Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we would build the row houses. That's the only way to do that. We
so
would-
you will build the row housing?
Yes, yes.
But
Sorry,
not
I was
necessarily the individual, okay.
Yeah, we
So,
would build the gray ones, but not necessarily the pink ones.
okay, so I would like to see a rendering. Well, when we get to that, I just want to remind you, something that shows us what the row housing is gonna look like, will look like.
Okay.
I like pictures.
We have tons of, we did a couple different designs, so I'll be happy to send this to you.
Yeah, be ready to show them to everybody when you show them.
I think everybody's seen them. They're all over gossips.
I don't read gossip, sir.
Okay, sorry.
Okay? I don't read that.
Right, and just to be clear, this is the subdivision of the land component. We understand that if we're going to develop any of the row houses, we'll need to provide that.
Okay, thank you. That's what
Also, Teresa, this is Craig. Real quick, I just want to caution. To my knowledge, based on city records, it was never a junkyard.
Oh, what was it? It looked like a junkyard.
It was a service garage, and there was a tow company that stored cars there when they towed them.
And how about the ones that were broken down and rotten?
Well, that's part of the service center. When you say junkyard, that starts triggering environmental studies.
Exactly.
Thank you.
You caught me right, Craig.
Yes.
You're right. That's exactly where I was going. So I'm glad you cleared that up.
So I would just like to state for the record that we've had the site cleaned twice, and it's been inspected, and it's currently being monitored by the state because of some tiny residual petroleum that was from them cleaning out crankcases and throwing the waste oil on the dirt and the property out back. Other than that, it's clean as a whistle.
That's what we define as illegal dumping.
Yes, right.
Can we, as the planning board, ask for that to be part of their and submitted into what they give us, Victoria?
Sure, we can ask to review their cleanup.
Sorry,
Yes.
Walter, you did a phase 2 environmental?
There was a phase 2 environmental done, we wouldn't buy the property without it. And then after we bought it, we hired a second company to do a second test. They found some very minor residual stuff, which we notified the state about. So there is an open case that's on the public record. Anybody can look at it. And it's for minor, petroleum stuff, just hijinks with when they were cleaning out the cars.
I guess I would just only say that if they were there for decades, that spill, and maybe obviously you know more about this than me, but that years of dumping could be more than.
So wait, no, sorry. There's no spill there. The site was totally remediated. They took everything. They destroyed the inside of the garage. They cleaned all the dirt that had any oil in it. They took it out, took it away, right? Put new dirt in, and then we had it checked and somebody said, oh, look, over here, there's a little of this, and they reported it. Very minor. You'll see.
Thank you for clarifying.
I'd like to go back to this issue of the shared driveway, which causes me anxieties. So let's say it's 12 years from now and I buy the yellow triangle. So I own the shared driveway. And let's just say in 12 years I hate dogs. And I prohibit any of the pink property owners from taking dogs on my driveway. It's my driveway. They aren't allowed to have dogs. Or I decide I hate dogs and children under 16. And I say to the people who live in pink parcels that they cannot bring their children or their children's children friends or the pets associated with these children down my driveway. Am I allowed to do that?
No,
Why?
because there'll be a recorded driveway maintenance agreement, which will give every one of those parcel holders a legal vested right to use the shared driveway, ingress and egress, utilities, to utilize it in all fashions, both pedestrian and vehicular. So they have a property interest. So you wouldn't be able to cut that off unilaterally, because it would be a recorded interest that each one of those property holders would hold.
Right, and Larry, we would review and approve of that document before it was executed. I also want to note, Andy, that this would probably require CPS 7 filing with the Attorney General as well. So it's more than 3, I think, requires an CPS 7 filing. And so if there's ever a real issue, homeowners could complain to the Attorney General, who could enforce. They generally stay out of those issues, but.
Along the same line, just a question. They'll all be owner occupied. They won't be rentals in any way. Walter?
We're just subdividing the land now, John. I have no idea what's going to be. You mean the houses?
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, they would be sold as fee simple, sold as fee simple houses. And then
Okay.
somebody wanted to rent them. I mean, I suppose they could. We
Yeah.
were thinking families would live in them.
Well, my question basically revolves around the legal ramifications of having a mix of people who own the houses and people who are renting the houses, and the shared driveway agreement. And, I mean, there are a number of questions that kind of go forward from there. It was just a curiosity more than anything.
So, I just want to say quickly, Mary and I tried to buy a house in Harlem years ago that was in a beautiful street, a lot of really beautiful houses. And I can't remember, a couple of you architects probably know the name of it. It escapes me, but McKimmey and White had done some of them. And it was exactly this kind of ownership. The people fronted on a street, but then they had a shared driveway behind and had access to their garages and houses. And there was exactly the arrangement that Andy's talking about, where you have owners regulations and everyone contributes their share. There's insurance, there's municipal guarantees, everything. And, I think that's more common than you think. It just might never have been here because there was not a need for it, because most places have a street grid that was established and the land is accessible. I just want to say this quickly, this thing that we've been struggling most with all these years is how to get legal and proper access into this without having to build a city street that ends up being a kind of dead end cul-de-sac. You don't see a circle at the end of this, which I think is a good thing. And we've set it up so if they ever do build Wortman Avenue, it can continue down. And there's a way even to the north if the city in 100 years wants to plug in. So we're trying to do something that accesses our property now, but also fits into the patterns of Hudson in a way that will be useful in the future. So that's my speech.
Okay, thanks.
Have you contacted?
Excuse me, could you stop sharing, Walter?
Oh, sure, sorry.
Because I can't see nobody but okay, thank you. All right, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you contacted the fire department about the shape of that, and I guess it's like a hammerhead, and whether that provides sufficient room for emergency vehicles and fire trucks to turn around.
Craig is going to answer that, I think.
Yeah. Craig has his hand up.
That'll be reviewed through the fire code, basically through my office, as part of accessibility. The roadway, as long as it's 20 feet wide, and they have a turnaround or an access every 150 feet, that's acceptable. The only other thing is we'd have to look at the size of the buildings when it's constructed versus the accessibility as far as larger pieces of equipment. This project, if I may, is very, very similar and not identical by no means, but very similar to the Academy Hill project. Privately owned, accessibility roads, all on parcels that have private streets. So it isn't uncommon here.
Any more questions? Can we move to escrow? Nobody has any more questions. I don't see any hands raised. Yeah, escrow. Victoria, can we?
Yes, please.
Okay, so may I have a motion to set up escrow for 2-12 Hudson Avenue.
What's the amount?
Let's say 10,000.
What? What? Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
So there is going to be some legal review. If it's unclear at this point whether you're going to hire an engineer as well. Does the board see a need to have an engineer?
Well, they did mention
Assist
they
with
have.
stormwater issues.
And how about when we review their report for the hazardous materials? I mean, we may have to. You get it back. You get it back, sir. What we don't spend.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
I just want you to know you get back what we don't spend.
I have a question for Victoria.
Sure.
Which relates to maybe a little bit of confusion I'm having, which is obviously we're doing a subdivision and they get it. The vast majority of subdivisions, I think, are pretty straightforward. But this one is a subdivision that implies development.
Yeah.
In a way that most subdivisions don't, and implies significant development. So I'm wondering what our charge is here if we're just looking at a subdivision or we're looking at drainage and potential development, other development issues that stem from this subdivision.
I mean, my recommendation and advice is that when you look at a subdivision where access is an integral part of the creation of the lots, you can't have those lots until and unless this driveway is created. You have to look at the design of that driveway. You have to make sure it can be graded properly and that the stormwater can be dealt with. So that's going to be something that this board is reviewing as part of the subdivision plat. The grading on the individual lots can come later if he's not proposing to build those now, or if he's, selling the lots to a different developer. But, I think the driveway is going to be very important. And in fact, we'll probably talk about putting some conditions on where, that no lot can be sold until the driveway is at least roughed in and meet certain requirements, because you don't want to be stuck with someone who, can't build.
And I guess my question was maybe a little bit beyond that too, because there's other development issues that we deal with regularly on projects that, of course, are being developed. And this seems to suggest, massing, and it suggests a lot of, I guess, points to a specific development pattern. And
you have to consider the additional density. So, off the top of my head, I don't know if you can put a 2-family on each of those lots or a 3-family on each of those lots, but you're going to be doing a seeker review for each, as if those lots are going to be developed, at least on a basic level, because we don't have a real plan. So you're going to have to consider, the parking, the water, the grading, the drainage. Luckily, we don't have to deal with birds, bad speeds, those sorts of things so much in the city because it's a developed area.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we have a hand raised. Linda?
No, Mark, I had something I wanted to say about parking. It has nothing to do with this, so maybe at the end if you have time.
Okay. Does anyone have a comment about the application at hand? Okay, so can we go ahead and finish the resolution for escrow? May I have a motion?
Well, I want to go back to Walter's gasp. It sounds like the applicant is trying to work through a range of issues. Perhaps we set the escrow at a lower amount to enable them to know whether they want to proceed with this project at all and want to pull the plug if it is actually too difficult and too prohibitive. And yes, they get the money back, but still,
I didn't understand. So you're saying there's a possibility that you may not go through with this?
There's always a
Is that what
possibility.
you're saying? I didn't get that. It looks like he's going through with this. Are you, sir? Is there a possibility that you may not?
Within our powers, we intend to go through with it. I'm sorry about the gasp. It's just we are going to have to pay an engineer to do that road in addition to putting $10,000 in escrow, in addition to the other expenses. So that was the only reason for the gas, but it is what it is. Just tell us what you need and we'll work with you.
And I think just the other thing that I would add is that, I mean, a large portion of this is looking to do single family homes. I agree with what Clark was saying in terms of, yes, it's being masked. So the roadway, as Victoria said, has to be looked at, but just, vis-a-vis some of the other applications, I mean, we would ask that, maybe the revolving amount be less, 5,000. Again,
Well, see, I look at the bills.
pay it, but we, just in comparison to some of the other projects, it just seems like it would be more relative in scale.
I understand, but I've been looking at these bills for the last couple of months, and I'm telling you, we won't come back to you as soon with 10. You won't run out, and we'll be able to move quickly. Okay? People are running out of money, and we're no longer going to, have them at the meeting if they don't have enough money to pay their bills. So if, I'll let it be up to the board. What does everybody else say? I say 10, Larry says less. What do you guys say?
I just asked about less.
I say 10. What it's up to everybody else because it's 5 of us tonight. Aren't you lucky?
I think. Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Cliff. Okay, I think less.
What do you
And then if it turns out that
What are you
less needs
suggesting?
a lot more, then we go for a lot more. That's
How much money are you suggesting?
I'd say, like Andy said, 5,000 instead of 10.
Okay.
That'd get them off to a good start. I think.
I agree with that. And if we look at comparative size, did we just ask Galvin to put in 10K for 30?
Yeah.
30 unit hotel. This is
Gene?
5.
Who else is on here? That's just me. Okay. So I guess the majority says 5. So we'll go with 5. I'll always go with the majority of my board. Yeah. Mr. Larry.
I didn't even agree to 5. Okay, fine. I'm fine with 5.
That's okay, because later on I'm going to ask a question. So that's why you'll see why I'm going with the majority of the board. Okay, so it's 5, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Motion to set, and then
Motion to set escrow for 5,000 for 2-12 Hudson.
So moved.
I'll second.
Clark,
John.
and then John.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
Chairwoman, do you want to identify an engineer, or maybe before the next meeting, have an engineer identified who could review the plans once the applicant submits engineered plans?
Yes.
Okay, so you can work on that for the next meeting.
Okay. Are you going to submit them next meeting? Will you be prepared for next month's meeting?
I have to ask the engineer, but if he can, I will, sure.
If you can, let us know. If you can't, let us know, okay?
Absolutely.
Because if you can't, then we won't bother. We'll just hold off on that for a while. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good. So we're moving on. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We are now in other business.
We have a raised hand from Linda still.
Oh, Linda. Yes, we have time. We're in other business now, and this is other business. How are you?
All right, here's some other business. I'm great. And congratulations on your new position. I wish you all the luck. And, just going back to the parking issue in general, I'm curious whether the planning board knows how many parking spaces have been committed to all the projects in Hudson that the hotels have taken, or the Pocketbook Factory, or whoever's buying the city parking spaces. Does the planning board have an idea how many have been purchased so far?
70? From me being on the board, it was 30 for the hotel on Union, right? Am I right?
It was, yeah, and 40 for
40. So 70 that I know of. Anybody? How about you, Clark? You know of any more?
That sounds right to me. You guys' memory may be better than mine, so I'll go with your number.
Larry?
Don't know.
Ms. Mussman, they're annual permits, and so they have to be repurchased every year. And as you know, the permits don't give you a specific spot. The city can sell an unlimited number of these permits. So
there's no guarantee that they remain in perpetuity for these projects.
it's
Is
a
that what
condition
you're
of their approval that they renew the permits every year. But it could be that in one year, lots of other people are requesting permits, and in another year they're not. So we can't keep track of how many permits the city has issued at any given time.
But it's been part of your discussions around parking for these particular projects. So I guess that's my comment, and my concern is that we're sort of just handing out parking spaces that are, in reality, there is no fixed condition that they will remain there in perpetuity. So that's just a comment. And then I guess the other comment is, how many are available to be purchased? Which means how many are available for the public to use?
Well,
If we
again,
sell them,
it's unlimited. They will issue a parking permit to anyone who wants one. So the permit does not guarantee a spot.
Right, but I think Linda's point is more about, of the available spaces in the city, how many of them are being nominally claimed by developments. And I do know that in the Pocketbook Factory round, we did ask the applicant, and I don't remember the figures, to confirm the total number of spaces available, how many spaces had been bought as permitted spaces, and how many of those spaces were going to be occupied by the new proposal. I don't remember those figures, frankly, but I do know that was a round of vetting that we went through on the Pocketbook Factory. There was some concern that if every developer says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to buy spaces," we're selling something that then we can't actually, can't be used as intended.
It's true.
I just don't know what the numbers were.
that's my point. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah.
Anyway, those are just comments and observations of how things go here. And I'm concerned that we're going to run out of places and commitments to projects that are under review and say they're going to provide parking, and in reality, it either won't be there or the public is cut out of this.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I know it's a long meeting. I appreciate the chance to speak.
Thank you for your concerns. I understand. Does everybody else get that?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe we should think about that. You're right.
Well, I guess I'm again going to say that the Common Council eliminated parking requirements several years ago.
Yes.
And so there are no requirements for these projects to provide parking. And the planning board is reviewing and trying to consider neighborhood-wide impacts, to justify the additional spaces and finding some off-street spots, but it is made more difficult by the fact that there's no parking requirement.
I guess I would also say that, and maybe another way to look at it is, like, as we're reviewing projects, again, with no parking requirement, what parking resources are available to accommodate parking? And there are significant lots with significant empty space, I believe, and that's our charge, to try to accommodate that public concern with no regulatory requirement of providing parking. So I feel like we've sort of thread the needle here a bit. When there's no real requirement for parking, what can we do to accommodate or address public concerns about having available parking? So I think we've done a good job of that, using an available resource. So I get it that there's a view that it's taking up public space for public access, but I do think that our parking studies have been very good in terms of determining what volume of public available parking is there to use.
And frankly, a lot of this is in the political realm, and the reality is that half of the available parking spaces overnight, when the demand is highest, are essentially deaccessioned in ways that may be able to be revised should the political will exist to make those changes. And, you know, it seems to me that there are some infrastructural parameters in place that are political mandates, and that infrastructure could be accommodating a lot more spaces if we shifted street cleaning and or snow removal to work hours and not to the times when residents and visitors need to park their cars overnight.
Those are things I think we can look at in the future, right, Victoria? Or write a letter recommending that the powers to be, you know,
If-
get together, write a letter or something.
If this very busy planning board wants to take up different roles of reviewing code and making recommendations, you're welcome to do that.
Thank you, Victoria, for putting it like that.
No, we have a
Linda?
big pot of money to spend on whatever we want now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Linda,
we
are
can
you
work
okay?
with
You're finished? Linda?
Well, isn't this part of the seeker review ultimately?
You know, that's
Yeah, I mean, on larger projects, it is part of seeker review because it's because it rises to the level of a community-wide impact. So I would say that's a case-by-case review.
Yeah,
And I would say that the hotel, perhaps, in my view, I'm not as educated as you are with this, but I would think that the hotel project that would be a major impact on a community.
I'm sure it's something we're going to address because it comes up in our little conversations all the time.
You know, but seeker's language assumes traffic impacts, right? That a development is going to result in a whole lot of new cars on the street. There's almost nothing in seeker which assumes a municipality like ours has eliminated minimum parking requirements and that the impact actually of the development is parking, right? It doesn't, seeker is not even constructed to do that. So you have to find, you know, community character or nuisance questions that might actually engage these things, because the assumption on the part of the legislature is clearly that hey, any developer is going to have parking, right? So we're in an interesting place where our urbanistic impulses, which I agree with, to eradicate minimum parking requirements, is not matched by the state's guidelines regarding parking.
Okay. Anyone else?
Should we do our other business now?
Okay, Linda, are you okay?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Thanks
You're
for your
welcome.
time.
All right. Okay, so now other business, minutes. Everybody got the minutes from November 18th. Can we approve them? Did everyone get the minutes for November the 18th? Did everyone get a chance to read them?
I have not read them.
I don't have it. I
Did
don't
you?
have it.
Oh, you don't have it, Gene?
No.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so let's scratch that.
Do we have them?
Yeah, we only have them for one day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait.
The other minutes were transcribed, right, on something, but Lisa still has to go and do them, because even when I looked at them, it says unknown speaker. So how did it say that?
Well, this is a reminder that we should go back to the good practice of, before you speak, saying Victoria Polidoro speaking.
Good idea.
This is my comment. Larry Bound speaking, this is my comment, because the transcription service does not identify or distinguish the speaker.
So every time it says unknown speaker, it means another person starts speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I don't know that we'll be using a transcription service without me like taking it, and I'm here in the meeting, so I'll know. It's cutting out some of the work. This did not cut out any of the work. This made it worse.
We
Uh,
understand.
It really did, to go back and now have to proof the transcripts and go back and watch yet again the meeting to fill it in. I could do it. It's no problem. It's just going to take
More time.
it's going to take time. I wish I didn't stop for a month waiting on these transcripts. However, Victoria, you had mentioned to put the transcripts up as possible drafts. I'm going to check with Michael about that, and Teresa will have another conversation.
Right, I mean, for members of the public that want to review something, the transcripts are available. They're not great.
Yeah, and I mean,
they're-
but the Zoom meeting is there for them to watch as well.
I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so the minutes that I submitted to Steve Scheim and then to Teresa are not going to be reviewed tonight?
No,
So they
because
cannot be put up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just resend them to everyone. It seems like quite a few did not get them. If those that got them didn't read them, so we'll do it next month, okay?
No
Because,
problem.
only
But-
November 18th, which was a special meeting. Yes.
But I mean, I think we do have a reporting issue, right? That something's
do.
got to get posted legally, right? I mean,
Minutes are required
Could
to
be
be
a
available
draft.
within 2 weeks. So
But-
you can make, if someone asks, you can release the drafts, just mark them draft.
Right. So before everybody reads them,
Mm.
it could be posted as a draft, as is.
It could be posted as draft subject to change, not yet reviewed by board. And then at least there's a disclaimer on it, so we can amend it later.
I'll forward them tomorrow, or I could forward them tonight to everybody here on the board. And then we could pick up Teresa tomorrow as to what you want to do, and then they could be posted.
Okay, so would the board mind if she, oh, I thought maybe you should post them as draft, forward it to everybody, post it as draft, with subject to change. And then as the board read them within a week or so, everybody say, okay, they submit their changes to you. How's
And, and then they still have to be approved at the next meeting, correct?
correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I looked at the minutes, and all of them said draft.
Because they were all drafts. It's a disaster, what I
Wait a minute,
looked
what do
at.
you mean? You mean none of the minutes were approved?
Only
this
one
year?
or two, so I don't have the full answer to that question yet, but I will have it for you. And I believe that most of them were not, either the website wasn't being maintained or they were not approved. I could see from transcripts that I did read, looking for the minutes, that some of them were approved. But it's disorganized to me, so let me look at it and then
Well,
tell
get
you.
back to me.
Yeah.
What we were just talking about is I took a look at the minutes from last year up until now, and all of them mostly said draft. So I didn't know, I thought, well, maybe that's what they call a minute, but I thought it wouldn't say draft if it was an approved minute.
You're right.
So
It wouldn't say
now
draft
we're
if it was
finding out.
approved.
Okay,
And but I did notice that the website needs some maintenance, and there's 76 folders under minutes that should be in other places. So I really have to go and do some heavy duty maintenance to the files and the folders, and then I'll check all the minutes and cross-reference it. We'll get it done. I'll get it done.
All right, so everybody understand that. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa? Okay, so we'll move on. Okay, now the review of bills for approval. Now, I have a question. Now, tell me, which one of you wonderful members of this planning board is going to step up and take the escrow off of me? Come on, don't rush at the same time. Not everybody, come on.
Well, I thought we weren't doing. I thought we were going to do this through City Hall.
Victoria?
I mean, I was there when we made that request. I haven't heard any follow-up yet.
Okay, so it's confirmed, nobody on this board is gonna do this. not even, and I can't.
And
So
I've heard that it could possibly fall to me. I'm ready to do that if you determine that's what you want, or that it's going to be taken out of the clerk's office to the planning board clerk.
okay, we'll get together after. Okay, right now I sent you guys everything I had. Did you take a look at it?
Yeah.
Okay. So can we approve all the invoices, bills to be paid? We do understand that Colorusso doesn't have enough money to pay all of their bills. So tonight I would like to figure out which Colorusso has only 40, what is it? What was it? 4,800? Okay, Colorusso's balance is $4,818.96. And they owe a total of, in bills, different bills, $7,281. So we have to figure out what bills for them, what bills will they pay to use up the 4,000, the 4,800? Or you guys want me to do it and just,
Or can't we just pay 66 cents on every dollar or whatever we have available? on
No,
the
then-
invoices, or do we have to pick winners and losers?
Well, can you authorize all of them and then the treasurer can just hold it until more money comes in? Or can you only authorize it once there's money?
I don't know. I guess I can authorize them all and let the treasurer, I don't, this is why I'm saying this whole procedure has to be looked at different. It has to be looked at. It has to be, somebody has to take responsibility for this. And
Right,
it
because
can't be
your
us.
review of the invoices, you should be reviewing all consultant invoices to confirm that the work that is listed on the invoice was done and that, there's no really odd charges, like no one put 5 hours when it should have been 0.5. That the work
Okay.
done matches what you would expect for that type of application.
Okay, so let's just review and approve them all and then let the clerks figure it out, right?
And I mean, again, I'm sorry if that's not the right procedure, I just.
No, it is.
Just trying to move it.
It's a better procedure than what's going on. So can I get a motion to approve the bills?
I make a motion to do that. Teresa.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Linda, you have you have the letter I sent, how they should be put in the minutes.
Lisa.
Lisa, you
I'm
mean me?
sorry.
Yes, I have it.
Because that's going to be the only record that we have after they leave this desk. Okay?
If you say so, yes, I have it. But I also have 3 more bills that you sent over and you said just hold them for this meeting. And I don't believe that they're included on these well, they might be, right?
We should I'll stop sharing. You guys should indicate which.
They're all included.
These are all included in the list that you sent me.
Yes.
Fine, I have them, yes.
You're welcome. Okay, go ahead. Now the resolution for Colorusso.
Right, we're doing this by resolution because they're not here and we want to be able to send them something in writing.
Okay.
And can I get a motion for this resolution?
Can we read it first?
Yep.
Oh, I thought we sent it to you.
I didn't see it.
So I can already see this is a language from a prior resolution. I could change Hall Road to say one directional road that sometimes goes by other names, but really the meat of this is the resolve clause.
Okay.
Okay.
The escrow is called Colorusso Road Review Escrow Account.
Who named that?
Could you repeat that? Colorusso Road Review?
That's the name of the account.
Oh, okay.
The escrow account is named Colarusso Road Review Escrow Account. They got different names.
Okay.
I took out the description and just shortened that.
Okay.
I mean, fine. It's not up to us to enforce this, right? I mean, if they say no.
Right,
That's-
they won't come back on they won't be able to be placed back on the agenda until they make a deposit.
Victoria, you know that there's no resolution number at the top of this?
So that's something that you and I can talk about if you want resolutions to start being numbered for 2022 and how you want to number them. Or if you just want me to take it out. So we can think about how it's best for you to organize, the files and the resolutions.
Mm-hmm. I don't really have an opinion because when I look at the files, they look disorganized to me, so I don't have a handle on how I'm going to handle it. I know they're going to go into folders and the title should be fine and the date should be fine.
Okay. Craig, do you have your hand up intentionally?
Yes, I have a question to the chair, basically for membership. It has nothing to do with what you're talking about. I just wanted to make sure I ask the question before everybody leaves. So I can wait.
All right, let's just finish this if you don't.
You don't mind. We'll get you before we hang up. Okay, so what did I have to do? All in favor?
Oh, motion and second.
Oh, do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
Who
second.
made the motion? Wait a
John.
minute.
John. Second. Second.
I'll second.
Oh,
Clark.
Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion passes for that resolution. And also make sure it's mentioned that, no member of the planning board is willing to take on the escrow. Put that in
Yes.
note.
Yes.
Teresa, can we talk just a little bit about the meeting that we had relative to this issue and just?
Okay, yeah, that's the next thing. Discuss escrow procedures.
Okay.
Let's take Galaxy's question first, okay? Craig, your question.
Yes, I signed on a few minutes late. I just want to clarify to make sure everybody's getting the applications from my office via email. I know we lost 2 members. And I'm not
Yes.
sure who the new members are, do we have new members? And to make sure everybody's getting the emails and the applications so nobody, obviously isn't missed.
Lisa, did you get the application from Craig's office?
Yes, I did.
Valerie, did you get the application from Craig's office?
No, not directly, and I don't know if it's because I don't have my email yet.
I think that's why.
Okay, next month she'll have an email.
Okay, so Valerie, I don't know Valerie.
I'll send it to you as soon as they give it to her.
Okay, and
You missed the introduction. Valerie Ray is the newest planning board member. Will be sworn in as soon as she's back.
okay,
She's
Perfect.
going to be sworn in on January 21st. And I'm sure that her email will be issued right after that.
so then I know to make sure I send it to her as well. Okay, perfect. If anybody's missing anything, by all means, let me know.
Craig, can you add Shane Nissen back on your email list, please?
Shane?
Yeah.
Yep, it's just a simple click of the button. Sure.
Thank you.
And Victoria, someone needs to fix your email, your city email. I keep sending it to the city and then have to send it to you.
I know, I don't have a city email, so that's the problem. And I don't need one, so.
Okay.
You just have to.
There's too many, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Clark.
Probably don't want one.
What did you have, Clark, you had something to say?
Oh, I wanted to talk, I think it's our C on our other business, which is discuss escrow procedures.
Yes.
So, I mean, we were there at the meeting, so I don't know if you want to summarize what we talked about.
We talked about that the escrow should not be part of the members of the planning board. We showed a strong, motion to get everyone to understand that we're talking about money. And this should be handled by a permanent employee of the city. This is where records are being kept. In 2 months from now, 4 months now, somebody may ask a question. They ask me, I still have to go through Tracy or go through Heather to find out, was this paid? Did you get it? And it has to be centralized to one person. And I recommend that person be an employee, a permanent employee of the city of Hudson. So that whenever there's a problem, or if there's a problem with escrow, any questions that need to be, they know exactly, oh no, we had this on this day, this is when it was paid, blah, blah. Plus the, applicants, if their money is kept over 30 days, they should be getting some type of invoice, some type of record of what their balance is.
So just so everyone's clear, I think we skipped a step. So last week, Clark, Teresa, and I had a Zoom with Victoria, Cheryl Roberts, and Michael Hoffman from the mayor's office to discuss escrow.
Oh, yeah, that's the step.
And Lisa was there too. And we discussed escrow policies and made a point to the mayor's office that we, as a board, believe that we require greater administrative support from City Hall, and that the escrow function is complicated and large enough that individual board members can't be tasked and charged with that responsibility. And I think we had a very receptive audience with the mayor's office, but I don't think we've made real definitive progress yet. But
No, we didn't get a response back at all. We did not get a response. So we make the claim again. Anybody else have a question about that, Clark?
Well, I guess I just want to comment and it goes back, I think, a year or more, but, I think we talked about this at length, but just as a summary, which is, especially as the workload has increased, and we didn't have a permanent full-time or lawyer that could take on every project. We were paying them out of escrow, per project. It just became very apparent that work, as Teresa very well articulated, is way beyond what we can expect a volunteer to do, especially given the workload that we have, and especially given that it's city business and lots of money. So, back when I was attempting to help Betsy in this, I came to that conclusion. I'm very glad that others tried and came to the same conclusion, which is it's too much. And it's not really appropriate given the workload that we have for us to be expected to do that as well. So I think I felt like our reception from Michael Hoffman and Cheryl Roberts and, others representing the city was positive. I certainly hope they take some steps. And I really appreciate your comments, Teresa, that someone inside City Hall should, in the treasurer's office should be handling this, I guess, on our behalf, and should be issuing a monthly report so we clearly understand what's happening. Again, above and beyond what we're doing already as our task as unpaid volunteer public servants here, that just seems way above and beyond, and quite frankly inappropriate for any of us to be handling that as a it's as an administrative matter that's very important to the city.
Agreed.
Okay. Because right now I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we have about 4 escrow accounts, and we just added 2 more. I think we had up to 7 one time. Maybe. So we're hoping that we get a response on that, because right now, all I'm asking Lisa to do is I sent her something on how to record them. We will still like you said, Victoria, review the bills when it comes in. We will review, but I don't think I should be doing, finding out that an applicant doesn't have the money. I think that should be done way before it gets to me. I don't think I should be getting the bills. I think that one person in City Hall or whatever should be getting those bills. I'm getting some bills. Tracy's getting some bills. I think she gets your bills. And then they want me to take those bills and put them on individual, I guess, registers for that particular account. No, that should be a job of the city. Anybody else?
I think we're in agreement.
I think we're all agreed.
I think we are.
So what do we do? Victoria?
I mean, you really got to talk to the mayor about getting you the assistance that you need.
And even if they gave it to Lisa, I think it should stay with the city. Somebody that you can hold accountable for errors, that you can hold responsible for looking up detailed information, providing it, saving it. She shouldn't have the records at her house. They should be kept in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
They
So
should be on a city database to
something
look
yes,
at, to refer to for accounting and for reporting.
So we've made our case here. So,
okay.
Yeah. So Victoria, we leave it to you to make it happen.
I mean, it seems, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, is there a cultural problem? I mean, you know, we had a lawsuit last month and the city didn't accept the service at City Hall. And they had to go find John Cody at home or something. I mean, what?
Yeah, I heard. John, don't ever anyone do that again.
From the way Tracy explained it, apparently the process server wouldn't give it to anybody in City Hall and said that he had to give it to somebody on the planning board. She said she called one other person who couldn't or wouldn't do it. What the hell, I'm a retired guy, I'm sitting home, you know. But the stack of papers was like, well, Victoria knows, it was huge, you know. I quite honestly didn't even look at it. So I just passed it along back to Tracy where it should have gone in the first place.
Yeah, that's unusual. They normally don't hunt the planning board members down at their homes.
Yeah, well, she called and asked and I offered, so.
No, that was nice of you.
No big deal.
We had to get the service somehow, so.
Yep.
And actually, just a follow up to Teresa, I think this was your idea we had talked about, which I think is a good one, is like, besides having a staff member sort of crunch numbers and manage stuff, it seems to me there should be, I'm just following up on what you had suggested, Teresa, that a senior person in the treasurer's office, whether it's Heather or Tracy, be responsible. And if they need staff to crunch numbers and produce reports, but there needs to be some accountability there. That recognizes that this is important and recognizes it needs to be done, and it's an essential part of city government.
Right.
And I think I said this in the meeting, it's like that hasn't happened yet. There's no recognition that this function and the planning board's major governmental role here in making things happen isn't supported by administrative support, isn't supported by an administrator. And that's just inappropriate in my strong opinion.
Well, has it always been like this, or is this like,
I don't think they had escrow like this before.
I think previously money was budgeted or allocated for the attorney to attend the meetings and just be paid for out of the city budget.
Yes.
Which, if that's what the city wants to go back to, but it doesn't seem appropriate when you're getting very large, very complicated projects. And oftentimes they do require time outside of the meetings. Memo review, preparation of resolutions, and the city made a determination 2 years ago that bill should be paid for by the developers who are seeking, the benefit of that proposal. So this is a new process for the city, and that's why we still have glitches.
Right. And it is something that that was mentioned, that it was new and is evolving now, because it started one way, that way doesn't work anymore. So now we are recommending another way. And maybe in 3 years, somebody's going to come up and say, oh, that's not going to work anymore. So, you know, so I'm sure we're going to get it done eventually. Anything else? Okay, committee reports. Okay, John, I want you to resign today if you are going to, but did you change your mind?
No, I didn't. I'm resigning from the IDA. I took the position when Betsy was appointed chair, because Betsy was working days and couldn't attend day meetings. And I told the mayor that I'd do it for however long Betsy was there. She's left, and the normal person who would go to the IDA meeting is the chair. So I figured we're going to stick Steve with it. You know, I told the mayor at the beginning of last year that I'd stay in that until the end of this year, give Steve a chance to get up to speed. And then I really haven't had any other conversations about it since then, other than with you, Teresa. But, you know, with other things that I have going on, that one extra thing can sometimes be a bit of a pain. But I do have a report. We approved the pilot for the pocketbook factory at the last meeting, so.
Well,
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I thank you, like Clark say, for your service and your commitment. And now I will be going to those meetings. But next year, we all gotta think about stepping up.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
Okay. And the HCDPA, they didn't have a meeting. They said they'll let me know.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now, did everyone get the email with the online training?
Yes.
It's simple. All you have to do is listen. Listen for the codes. I think there's 4 codes that'll give you all the training you need last year and this year.
All right.
Okay? And then you'll be good.
And Teresa, is it 2 different trainings, or is it just one?
It's 2 different. One is planning board ethics, and the other one is something else.
But we all need to get 4 hours a year. That's the rule.
Okay, that was my
question. That was your question. Oh yeah, 4 hours a year. And if you take, I think if you listen to, did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it's planning book training. Just listen to all of the videos, and they'll give you 4 codes, and then you write them on a sheet and you send them in. And I think that'll take care of you for last year and this year, right, Victoria? I think it'll take care of you, everybody. Okay?
Okay.
All right. That's it. The online training. Okay, so does anyone have anything else to say? I'm even going to ask the public. Do you have anything to say before we adjourn? Okay. I want to thank everyone for their service, dedication, and support of the process. Okay. We will continue forward as a cohesive board that presents the city, that, you know, represents the city of Hudson voices, and we will move forward in everything. Thank you all.
I'll make a
Good
motion
night.
that we adjourn.
Oh, okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
You
Who's
have it.
got one from John?
Does it have to be second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Stay warm.